Travelers on the Omnibus occasionally touches on mature subject matter with mature language. As such, audience discretion is advised. Welcome to Travelers on the Omnibus, a field trip through nerd and pop culture. My name is James McCarthy.
I'm Brady Davis.
I'm Jody Kite.
I'm Ethan Skinner.
Later on tonight, we're going to be doing a brief non-sequential history of modern board gaming. But before we get into that, Brady Davis, what has your week been like?
Not much. I finished Heavenly Tyrant. It was decent. It wasn't as good as Iron Widow. I really wish the author would stop ending on giant cliffhangers. That is kind of annoying.
You got to sell the next book, baby.
And I don't know when the next one's even coming out. It has been a little while, but I don't know. But yeah, it wasn't as good as the first one, but it was solid. It was a decent sophomore effort. So if you read the first one and like it, and I think you'll like the second one. It's not too bad. It's just that there were much more interesting relationship dynamics in the first one than there was in this one. Although there are some like interesting revelations which I kind of saw coming, but I can see people kind of maybe not see coming. So I don't know. But that was good. I really haven't done much else. Hayley Williams from Paramore dropped kind of a new album. It's not really an album because you can't like look it up as an album, but it's like 17 singles, I guess. Like some solo work that she's done. I appreciate Paramore and especially appreciate Hayley Williams. I think that she is good at what she does. Most of it's pretty solid. There's a few that I'm just like, oh, this is fine. But then there are a couple. The standout track for me is True Believer. She was actually born in Meridian, but she like considers herself like a resident, like her city is like Nashville basically. And it's about like the soul of that city getting sucked out of, which is I think a lot of people can nowadays can relate to. Yeah, it's solid if you like it, and it doesn't sound like Paramore. So, or to be honest, it's hard to say because like Paramore has like changed from what they used to be. Like they have had waves of like change. But I like the band. If you like Paramore and you like Hayley Williams, you'll like this. I think.
I think that's also like any artist or band that's been around for as long as Paramore's been around, because they've been around for what, 12 years now or longer?
Longer than that.
Longer than 12 years.
Yeah. Because I think she was like
super young,
like 18 or 20.
I think she was 16.
16.
Formed in 2004.
Yeah.
2004.
Yeah.
I remember
right.
hearing stuff from them while I was still in law school. So yeah. And that was 2002 to 2005. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's something to check out if you do like that type of music. I think some of her music will probably rub some of the things that she says in those are going to rub some people the wrong way.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that because if it rubs you the wrong way, we're probably not good friends. So it's okay.
Yeah, I want to say I remember them when they came out because they came out during like a really good, like one of the last good booms for that style of music because it was the third wave of emo. It was also like a lot of garage rock bands, the Vines, the Hives.
Yeah.
You had like well,
they were firmly like had like a pop punk
sound. Well, they were kind of pop punk, but they floated in the emo a little bit with what they were doing. Like people that like My Chemical Romance also could like Paramore. And some of the other bands that were in that corner, like sub genre,
and they've definitely got to more of a like a dance pop kind of sound, a kind of indie pop kind of sound.
Right.
They've kind of floated back and forth between all of those. Yeah. They kind of went away and then had a resurgence a little while ago.
Yeah, it took a long break,
like 6-7 years ago, I think was when another one of their big songs came out.
I think it's good for bands to do that. I wish bands did that more.
Yeah, I watched the thing like it's mostly just been her. I think every other member of the band has like gone away.
Sure, she's the anchor.
Yeah. But yeah, if you like Paramore, if you like that kind of stuff, I think that you'll like these. There's some good songs in there. So I'd say check that out. That's pretty much it. I haven't really done that much at all. That's me.
Alrighty, sir. Jody, keep it up. What you been up to?
Actually, a lot this week. I don't know if you guys remember when I was talking about PlayStation monthly games, and like King of Fighters 15 was the only one that showed up in my dashboard.
No, we have no recollection of you ever talking about King of Fighters.
Well, specifically that
What game is that?
being the only game that showed up in my dashboard. Even though one of the other monthly games last month was Diablo 4 and another PlayStation 5 indie title. The Diablo 4 version that wasn't showing up was for both PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. So I had an epiphany. Thankfully, I had an epiphany like 2 days before the games floated over to the next month, because if you don't add them to your library, they're just lost, right? Mm-hmm. And so what I did was I signed into my account on my phone, went to the monthly games, and saw that Diablo 4 was a PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 game, and was able to add it to my library from my account on my phone, because that's linked to my PlayStation account, as well as, and I was slightly irritated with that's and I was like, maybe that's a fluke or whatever, and Jay's like, I don't know if that's a fluke or not, but regardless, I hate not myself personally, I hate the fact that I didn't realize that this whole time I could have been adding PlayStation 5 games to my account, even if I can't play them. Whenever I do get a 5, I would have that backlog of 5 games, the monthly games. Regardless, though,
I believe that's something that is available, but that Sony doesn't publicize. And I'll leave it with that olive branch on the table.
Yeah. So I've been playing Diablo 4 all week. As any of our audience would know, none of us really, as far as I remember, financially support Blizzard, but it was a free game. Mm-hmm. So I've been playing Diablo 4. I've probably put in like maybe 8 hours or something like that into it. Slightly upset that there isn't a monk class, because it was the best solo class for me personally in Diablo 3. So I've been playing a rogue, and that's fun. You get to do a lot of cool rogue-like things, like shoot 20 arrows at one time into multiple enemies. It's pretty fun. I'm really digging it. I think the story so far is better than 3. I know a lot of people complain about 4, but those kind of complaints really don't click with me now, because like this game is free for me. So I mean, there's a whole different argument there. So I'm enjoying it. It's been a fun time so far. I started a new to me TV show. I started watching Barry on HBO.
Hell yeah.
I'm like on episode 4 or 5 or something like that. That show just starts like, and it just keeps running right from the beginning. Yeah. I think Brady's seen the whole series, right?
Yeah, it's great show.
Really good. Really great casting. I always like it when a show nails a casting. You can feel like the show, like they do a really good job with the tone of the show, I think, and like most of the camera shots are very close. They're very tight. I like that for a show like that. If you pay attention to different areas of where they're shooting at, you're like, oh man, this movie's very like anxiety driving, because you're usually in tight corners most of the time. You're in small areas, small rooms. That's done on purpose. I'm digging it so far. I'm gonna try and finish it as soon as possible, because Brady let me borrow Ted Lasso, so I want to be able to binge that like as my next show.
Yeah, Barry is great. It like everybody knocks it out of the park. I don't think that there's a bad season. I can't think of any like episodes that I watched and was like, it's,
Right.
they're all really good, and the story goes interesting places.
Yeah.
The characters are, when it's hilarious. It's hilarious when they kick up the anxiety. You get, it super ramps up. It gets super serious at sometimes.
Also, it's very meta because the whole premise of the show is that Bill Hader co-wrote the show, and he plays a hitman, and one of his targets goes to an acting class, and he gets wrangled up in the situation to where he basically wants to take acting classes, and you have Henry Winkler as the acting coach. And so you have a lot of meta stuff going on because there's people are acting as they're acting. So
if you think it gets meta now, just wait.
Oh, I'm sure.
Just wait.
So they're trying to do all kinds of things. And so, yeah, it's a very interesting show. I really dig the premise and everything.
Yeah. One of my favorite people on the show is Soho Hank. The bald guy.
Okay.
The bald, where are they? Chechenians?
Chechenians.
Played by Anthony Kerrigan,
Who
who was
is
Metamorpho
and then
Calypso in the Twisted Metal.
Oh, nice.
Which is great.
Oh yeah, he's hilarious.
But yeah, he's so fucking funny in that show. He's the main comic relief. I would almost say, but there are also like serious shit that happens with him too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Barry is fucking great, and I think it's kind of underrated now. People have kind of forgotten about it. But it's a great fucking
because it's
show.
been out for a while. I remember watching a spot when he was on Conan or The Late Show, and he was talking about how when season 2 came out, he said the HBO executives like listen, we have to apologize. We had to move the time slot for when we're going to show it. It's showing right at the season ender of Game of Thrones for the last season of Game of Thrones, and he's like, "That's fine with me," because it pulled in a lot of people.
Yeah, season 1 and season 2, I think, was like its peak, and then it, for some reason, even though it didn't get worse or anything, like it just didn't get as much like fanfare and traction after that. For some, like by its last season, like people were like talking about it, but it wasn't like near as much as like I remember. I didn't watch it back then, but I remember during because I think I started like in the 3rd season or something like that. Going back and then catching up, but it just didn't get a lot of traction, and I don't know. It kind of slowed down. I don't know why.
And then I watched 2 movies. I watched. Sometimes I like going back and watching movies that I watched when I was younger just to see if I still have the same sort of admiration for a movie. And even like movies that didn't really do well financially or even regarded as being great or forgotten about. So I watched Dirty Rotten Scoundrels with Steve Martin.
Wow.
And it's an enjoyable movie for me. I really like it. It's got a very...
Is that him and Michael Caine?
It is him and Michael Caine. Okay. The premise is very simple. Michael Caine plays a playboy con artist that cons like debutantes out of their money by giving them some sort of spiel where he's got he's a prince or he's works for some freedom fighters or whatever, but he's very posh. He's very high society. Steve Martin plays a very like ragamuffin, cheap con artist kind of character where, he's just basically, getting by on like swindling women out of like dinners and things like that or whatever, until he realizes, because Michael Caine's character puts him on to that he's just a regular guy when they meet for the first time. And then Steve Martin's character meets one of the debutantes, and she starts talking to him about the prince that she saw Steve Martin talking to, and Steve Martin realizes that Michael Caine's also a con artist, and so he follows him to and he realizes he has a mansion, and he's like give me what I want, or I'm going to start, ruining the Riviera for you, because that's where he's working out of. And he goes, well, what do you want? I can give you like, $50,000. He's like, I don't want money. I want you to teach me how to do this. And it's a fun movie, right? It's really good. It's on Tubi. That's where I watched it.
Okay.
And I watched another movie. I watched Death of a Unicorn.
Okay.
A24. And after watching Heretic, and another one before that I cannot remember for the life of me for some reason, I'm just like, all right, A24, please give me something.
Yeah.
Heretic wasn't a terrible movie. It just ended badly.
Yeah, the ending was very sour.
And just because it was a build up that kind of like went like flat for me. It's the reason why like Tusk doesn't work for me. Like I don't care that the concept is absurd. I love absurd. I'm absurdist. Like I love stupid wacky shit. I don't give a fuck that he's trying to turn him into a sea lion or whatever, or walrus. That's not anything I care about. What I do care about, though, is when your evil antagonist is like trying to convince somebody that there's spiders in his bathroom and you should go squash them so he can hit you with a hammer. That happened in that movie. In Tusk. I don't care for it. I feel the same way about Heretic. There was a buildup of the main antagonist, and then once you found out like his whole motive and why, it just fell flat.
Yes.
So Death of a Unicorn, it basically starts the same way it starts in the trailer, where Paul Rudd and his daughter, played by Ortega.
Yep.
Jenna Ortega.
Jenna Ortega, like, they're driving to a wildlife retreat run by a bunch of rich folks, and they hit a unicorn. They hit a quote unquote, they hit a horse. Paul Rudd's like, it's a horse with some sort of weird protrusion. She's like, that's not what it is. Something they don't show you in the trailer, though, is after they hit the unicorn, they're just trying to figure out what to do, and its horn starts glowing, and she grabs his horn, and then she sees the universe. Like, she sees everything. She sees everything. And so
That makes sense.
So she is semi-connected to the unicorn.
Okay.
So you have that. Of course, they're running out of time because they're supposed to be at this house within a certain specific amount of time or whatever. So they drive up to the house. The main old rich guy is dying of cancer. Paul Rudd's supposed to try and like help them like with some of their like financial like numbers or whatever to get everything straight for him whenever he passes or whatever. And also maybe be included in, part of the philanthropy that's happening. I mispronounced that word. But anyway, I'm not going to go through the whole premise of the movie. I'm just going to explain this part. So they're having a conversation, and as they're having a conversation, the unicorn's making noise in the car outside, like it's kicking and screaming and all kinds of other stuff. And they are freaking out. Did you hit an animal, on your way up here? And it's like, kind of? What do you mean, kind of, And so it just goes from there. The dude, the young cat that's in there that plays the son, who's also been in some other A24 movies like Midsummer. He's the guy that's like, should I be wearing shorts for this, when they find out it's a unicorn? And even in the trailer, they were talking about like, okay, well, the horn is magical and has properties to it that can cure cancer. And he's like, that's the best one, It's funny, it's goofy. It's got a few lull moments in it. It finally kind of finds its footing later on. And I think it ended fine. It was fine. I wasn't disappointed because that was a movie like Heretic where I had a little bit of hope for that movie. But I had no expectations going into watching Death of a Unicorn. and I was pleasantly surprised by it. I will say that there wasn't any point in the movie where I was, there were no twists or anything that kind of like caught me off guard, or any ideas where I was like, oh, that's interesting. There was really none of that was happening, but I enjoyed the movie. And for me, it was a better movie than Heretic as a movie goes from A24. As a movie in general, it's fine. It's not a horror movie. I know that's kind of like how they tried to package the trailer. It's not even a dark comedy. It's mostly just a comedy with a couple of horror elements because the unicorns, plural, that are in it that are just like, old school unicorns that are like, gaffing people left and right with their horns. So, yeah, and at some point you see one of the characters like snort a line of unicorn horn. That happens. So,
Yeah.
Also has Anthony Carrigan in it.
yeah, it has quite a few actors. I just can't remember all the actors that are in it, but it has quite a few.
I wish he had been Metamorpho in that movie.
Yeah, that would be funny.
He could Metamorpho into a unicorn.
Yeah, that one I know has gotten like mostly
Mixed.
mostly negative reviews.
Really?
What I've seen.
Yeah.
Really.
Which is sad because the premise of that and the people in that really like.
I liked it. overall.
Yeah, which is why I decided not to see it in theaters. Like I was
Right.
I was kind of planning on seeing it in theaters, and it got so much
Right.
negative reviews, and I'm just like,
I'll
wait.
I wouldn't have been happy paying $15 to go see it. Like it would have been, on the scale, always scale movies like this. It's like free to watch, rental, or buy it, or theater/buy it, or whatever. And definitely, you wouldn't have been disappointed back in the day if you would have paid $4 to rent it.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. But if you went to the theater, it would have been a Jupiter Ascending situation where it was like, I love that movie, but I didn't pay $15 to go see it.
Yeah.
So
That's when I need to get Max again. So because there's like several things on there.
I need to watch the Iron Claw movie too. I still haven't
Jesus,
watched that. Well, I have a backlog.
Well,
so,
I'm just I wasn't saying Jesus like
Yeah.
you should have watched it. But
how depressing that
I was
movie
saying
is.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can make myself watch that movie again.
A movie based on a story so depressing, they had to remove one of the
suicides
deaths because people wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Jesus God
Yeah,
Almighty.
that family was
Yeah.
cursed.
Yeah,
That's
rough.
me.
Rough.
Ethan Skinner, you're up.
Okay, so I made a purchase last
Yes,
week.
you did. You want to hold off on that because we'll make that the last thing we talk about.
Like really,
It's the only thing he wants to talk about.
That's the only thing
That's
you want to
the
talk
only
about.
thing.
But you didn't have anything else.
I mean,
I thought you had something else.
No, no.
it's things that coincide with it.
Oh, coincide with it. Okay.
Yes.
Well, hell. Because I need to talk about Gen Con real quick.
Okay, then go with your thing.
Okay, there we go. Gen Con was last week. The biggest reveal for me out of that was the latest expansion for Twilight Imperium, which is called Thunder's Edge. Adds new races. Some of them I think are really cool. One of them is like this group of humans and Xcha that had to defend this point and then got cut off from like all of reality. And then like when they finally came back and like they came back, it's like, yeah, we're just united as our own fucking faction now. And I thought that's pretty. The storytelling in that game has been consistent since Third Ed as actually making these things like living, breathing, like things. I would like to see more fiction come out of the Twilight Imperium universe, just in general. But so I was very excited about that. I believe
the thing about that I really like is the I can't remember what they weren't called missions or whatever, but they were like basically like a deck of cards, and you draw one at the beginning of the game, and it completely changes how like one or two major rules work.
Yeah,
Jesus.
which if
Like
if
one
you
was
played
like,
enough, if you played enough, you need something like
Like
that.
one was like you can't build anything, you can't build any space things but fighters, and all your fighters have like capacity 1, and they can be outside of a thing. They can be outside of a like a carrier. So you're just using like fighters the whole fucking time.
You'd have to have a carrier to at least bring troops with you places. I have to imagine. So.
There's something. There's something else. No, they have a capacity of 1. So you bring the fight.
Okay, so they have a capacity of 1, and also they would also have to have like a Like they because in the game there's actually advanced fighters you can get which they can fly off on their own, but they count towards your fleet limit.
Yeah.
So okay.
And then there was one that was like, all the public objectives are face up from the beginning of the game, and there's no limit to the amount of public objectives that you can score.
That could end that game in 10 minutes.
Because you don't immediately win when you get to the last point. It's the game ends at the end of that round, and whoever has the most points then wins.
I once again submit that game could end in 10 minutes.
I don't see how you could end it in 10 minutes with that, but you could like. But
let me say this, it will end significantly faster than the regular.
It could
game.
possibly.
Judging off of the 2 games that I've played, where both of them have been like 15 plus hours, yeah, that's going to end the game very quickly. I think
quickly. The game will end quicker, but I don't think that the game will end as fast as you can, because it's very hard to get a lot of those. Sometimes it works perfectly to where you could actually do multiple, but a lot of times you can't do multiple in a round, even if you did have the ability, because it just works out to where like the objectives just don't square off where perfectly like that. But
I'm excited for the Welcome to Night Vale RPG because they announced that.
Oh, there was one that came out. Draw Steel,
man.
It's a tabletop RPG that focuses heavily on combat, where it's like super crunchy combat, where you can do like you got tons and tons of options in combat, and I think that it's mostly a combat thing.
I like the idea of that.
Yeah.
The announcement of the 3rd edition of the Cypher system came out, which I think the Kickstarter on that is in September, I believe, somewhere shape or form. So that's
new
pretty
edition for Flesh and Blood, also
very nice. Our 2 friends of the show and former fellow podcasters, Jared Hubbard and Kevin Shelton, they bought somewhere, I have to imagine, and I have to ask them directly, but it looked like between the 2 of them, they bought like $1,300 worth of board games. Like it was an insane amount of board games.
I have seen some people's haul from Gen Con, and I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, people.
Yeah, y'all saved up a year and a half for this.
Yeah.
Jarrett got Final Girl, I think all of it.
Yeah, Final Girl is great.
That was a great purchase.
That's
for
a
him
solo game, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
You could kind of do it as a cooperative, like maybe 2-player thing, but it really is completely. That's
one of the few solo games I would consider buying.
Yeah,
because I'm not a big solo game fan, but the mechanics and the conceit and everything about that, I think is just extremely well done.
Yeah, it's a fun game. I have the 2nd season, all of that stuff. The 3rd season looked very interesting. I just couldn't get all of it.
Yeah,
but the boxes are coming out. Like I've seen some in like Barnes and Nobles. I need to. There's like one that's like a Terminator one.
Yeah.
I know. Jarrett got either one or couple starter sets for the Gundam card game.
Yeah,
and they are packaging minis for the Gundam mini game with those, and which I think is a really good way of cross selling the games.
Yeah, he got a tall geese, which is cool. That's one of my favorite.
Again, like I said to Jay earlier, that's not. They have multiple different things you can buy, and one of the gift sets bundles, like they do for Magic the Gathering, comes with an intro deck, 3 or 6 booster packs, and the mini Gundam for the board game that comes out later this year.
Yep.
But they also have just the intro pack.
Now, is it a board game or is it a minis game?
I'm not sure.
I've heard it's a minis game.
I'm not sure yet, but it could be either or.
But I'm cool with it either way. I mean, it's just the way it is there. But I do think that's a really genius way of cross pollinating those games and getting them out there. So I appreciate clever marketing. Like that.
Yeah.
All right, and I think that's pretty much it for Gen Con. Nothing else real major that kind of moved.
I'm trying to remember anything that like popped into my head when I was watching some Gen Con footage, but nothing.
Yeah, the notion of Gen Con may come up later in our main topic tonight, but it was. I think it was a very solid year for Gen Con, more so than Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con. Like there was a few things out of it that was like, but for the most part, I couldn't tell you what happened at the San Diego
Comic-Con is
less interesting now.
Kind of. It's not like the big
after
thing.
Endgame. It's kind of
well, like even like a lot of times, like the big people like I'm not going to say Marvel, but like some of the big people like don't have big things there anymore,
as
where
much
they make big announcements. They're just
Yeah.
like, well, we're going to do it ourselves. It's kind of like how E3, kind of went to the wayside where Nintendo was like, well, we're just going to do our own thing and announce games here. We don't.
And then everybody else followed suit.
Now you got your
It's
PlayStation
kinda-
State of Play.
There's
event.
still other people outside of that space that will do like live events. Like Evo has their announcements for all the fighting game stuff and things like that.
Yeah, but the tie there is like E3 is there to promote like product.
Yeah.
Evo is there as an actual competition.
Yeah.
Arguably I'll say at least one of the most important esports events on the calendar. Evo Las Vegas and Evo Japan.
Right. Well, also E3 was at one point was not like the video game like center of the universe. They were the Electronic Expo Entertainment. That's why it was called E3.
No, it was a break off from CES, which is Consumer Electronics Show.
Right, but it was
but at CES you had video games next to Cuisinarts.
yes, right.
And then E3 was like, this is solely video games.
Well, they had other shit for a while before they just focused on video games.
I thought E3 was only like to break that off so that video games had their own central.
No,
platform.
it just CES just died off and E3 took over.
CES is still going.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, CES is because there's still consumer electronics outside of video games.
Of course.
But with video games, again, and Nintendo is the watershed on that. It's like, we're going to do a Nintendo Direct.
Right.
We don't need to rent out halls and pay all these people and pay like booth babes to attract you to this. Just show you the games and be done with it.
Yeah.
And then move on from it. And then they all did it.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. So speaking of Nintendo, we recorded Wednesday of last week, and then the very next day I drove to Mobile, Alabama to acquire a Switch 2. So I'm now the proud owner of a Switch 2. And then in an effort to copycat me almost directly, Ethan Skinner on Friday went out and bought a Switch 2. And so we've gone from nobody in the Travelers having a Switch 2 to half of the Travelers owning a Switch 2.
I think I'm glad that you both were able to get one, and I think that might be another reason why they like not only dumped a lot of them into circulation, but also didn't wait until Christmas for that throttle of product.
Oh, like say that they release a Switch 2 for specifically the holidays. I could probably guarantee that I would not have one at this time.
Yeah. I'm glad they did it that way. Also, they dropped like 2 million units.
Yeah. And I will say mine was not. I was not expecting to get mine as soon as I did when I made the half decision last week.
Sure.
I know I mentioned to you last week that I'm wanting like downsize on my Magic collection.
Sure.
Just the things that I'm not using. Sell off. As
I
much
really
as I
need
can.
to do that.
Getting rid of a lot of my bulk. It's just collecting space.
Sure.
Someone from the shop, they were going through my stuff and they got like $1,300 worth of stuff.
Hell yeah.
And so that went to the Switch.
Well, yeah.
It's going towards Bianca's birthday
Nice.
for this month and putting it into credit cards and savings.
Yeah.
And so it was really just that one sale.
Right.
And I still have.
Sometimes you just fall into that situation.
And so got my Switch. I got the Mario Kart bundle because the Diablo Best Buy, that was the only one that they had.
Sometimes you got to do that too.
Which I don't mind that at all.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why I had to go to Mobile because Best Buy and Mobile had them, but they had the regular Switch 2s without the bundle. It's not that I hate Mario Kart. I like Mario Kart. The $50 extra, even though it's an $80 game outside of that, the $50 extra was not enough. And on another side point there, the onboard storage for the Switch 2 is 256 gigs. That is about, I want to say between like 10 and 20 gigs on that. So already you're losing about 5 to 10% of your storage capacity.
Right.
Now, you can extend that with micro SD express cards, which right now are a bit pricey and kind of hard to find.
Yeah.
Eventually, I'm going to get one for the system, but I wanted to keep as free as I could, as much space on there as well. So eventually, I do intend on picking up Mario Kart, just not right immediately.
Yeah.
If Donkey Kong Bonanza had not come out
Right.
when it did.
Right.
My favorite video game company, my favorite video game character, my favorite video game design team.
Right.
All of it in one.
Yeah.
I would have waited till Christmas to get one of these. I mean, go back to the original Switch. I didn't get my Switch 1 until about a year and a half, almost 2 years into the life cycle of the Switch.
Yeah.
This one, just everything about it is like, okay, it's lining up perfectly, and they started appearing on store shelves.
Yeah.
That was a big thing.
That's a big deal. Yeah.
I didn't want to get one online because or try to fight for one online because at that point I'm just like I'm having to punch people out in order to be able to, or if you say not even punch people out, punch robots out, try to get to it. No. So being able to physically put that in hand. Quick shout out to the folks over at Best Buy Mobile. Very professional, very classy. Had the stuff. I was in and out in 10 minutes, so that was pretty good. Ate over at Panda Palace Buffet. That was also very good. Their sweet and sour sauce was both sweet and sour, so that was very good. We're very happy about that.
I think Bonanza is also another reason why Ethan went ahead and got one too, wasn't it, Ethan?
But Bonanza is a factor because it really is just Odyssey with Donkey Kong. Just, like a lot of game aspects, like just feels while playing it. Right. It is heavily like reminiscent of Mario Odyssey, which I did enjoy playing it. Right. I think I like Bonanza more than I enjoyed playing Odyssey.
That's fair. There's a instant catharsis because I've said this. This is the most wholesome, violent game I've ever played in my entire life. Yeah, Donkey Kong rips worlds apart. Like he's just, like he can rip the ground out. You have YXBA, your 4 face buttons on your controller. 3 of them are used specifically for violence.
Nice.
Like you punch forward, you punch above you, and you punch below you. The jump button is the only one that's different. And then when you jump, you can hit the B button and do more violence coming down from your jump. It's insane. It's just absolutely. The game is so violent. And it's amazing, and I love it. But it's wholesome violence.
They use gold as kind of like their currency, and eventually you just run out of gold. And I'm like, I need money. Let me demolish this entire sub layer and just refuel my funds.
Yeah, it's just amazing. It's
just
so good.
Level landscapes.
You walk up to that. I love the fractones. They're like these people, and they're just like edges of rocks, and sometimes they take the forms of things like on the zebra level. Some of them look like zebras, and it's cute. You can just walk up to them and just shatter them and then they just grow right back. It's like, oh, that was fun. Right. It's absolutely just wholesome violence. Like I love it. This game, definitely gets like a strong recommendation from me, like 100%. If you had like. Part of it is there's not really much to play on Switch 2 right now, but this is you have to get this if you're going to Switch 2.
Donkey Kong Bonanza, is it like $70 or $80?
A 70.
Yeah.
And then in October, they come out with the new Pokemon Legends game.
That's Z to A. Yeah.
Nice.
Which
the premise of it is kind of similar to No More Heroes. Whereas you start at the bottom of Pokemon trainers, you start at Z and you have to work your way all up to A, like in No More Heroes, where you had to rise up the League of Assassins rankings in order to be able to win the game. I like the notion of it. I don't know if I will buy it, but I do like the idea of like this weird kind of like it's literally like just focusing solely on the progression up the charts. Like the way the gym battles usually are in Pokemon.
And it's a little weird because looking back at Legends Arceus, where it's more so kind of like an open world esque like Pokemon game, where it's open world in ZA, but at the same time it's not. It just takes place in a large city in one of their regions. Where, yes, you have like different zones, different areas that have different effects, but it's also not necessarily the same as the Legends Arceus blueprints. So I kind of want to see where they go with that, and so I'm excited about it.
I've been told that if you play Pokemon Scarlet and/or Violet on the Switch 2, that it fixes a lot of the problems that it had on the Switch, and the fact the frame rate is stable and a whole bunch of other things.
Oh, sorry.
No, go for it.
Kirby's coming out or at the end of the month.
Yeah, the Switch 2 version.
Yeah,
of that game is
Forgotten
coming out.
Land plus Star-Crossed World.
Yeah, they've added a little bit more, which fair enough. If you already bought it once, which I think if you bought it once, you can buy the upgrade on Switch 2.
Yes.
Which I'm kind of happy for that. It's not super gougey. It's an acceptable form of gougey.
Shinobi Art of Vengeance looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's the 2D like reimagined.
The game I'm looking forward to is Kirby Air Riders, which is the sequel to one of my favorite GameCube games of all time, Kirby's Air Ride. It's being developed by Masahiro Sakurai, which, if you don't know that name, that is the man behind the Smash Brothers series. The man knows how to make fun games, and so I'm happy about that. Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah.
It's coming out as a Switch and Switch 2 version. To me, there's no reason. If you have a Switch 2 specifically, I will say this. If you only have a Switch, I would avoid Metroid Prime 4. Just from what I look what they're doing.
Doesn't look as great on
the performance.
the
The performance. It's not so much the look as it is the performance. But that's just me kind of speaking out loud on that one. So things about the system specifically, I like the feel of the system. It's weightier than the old Switch. I have held, and this may just be just me like not recollecting, but I have held the 512 gigabit Steam Deck in my hands before, and it did not feel as heavy as the Switch did. It's a bigger screen.
It is.
It's even though it's an LCD, the screen looks gorgeous. I would stack it up against the Switch OLED any day of the week right now. I would not put it up against the Steam Deck OLED. That screen is number one in the entire genre. Like, I don't care what ROG Ally is putting out now with Xbox and stuff like that. I just think that Steam Deck 1 terabyte OLED is just an amazing system.
Yeah. I don't know if or when, if I do get one, when it would be, but it'll probably be whenever they get a number of tactical RPGs that reach the number 20 or more.
Yeah.
Octopath Zero comes out in December. That's a start.
Yeah, right there. And of course, you have you have the Switch 2 version of Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yes.
I know that Octopath, I want to say with Octopath Traveler Zero, I've heard that Square has no intention of doing a Switch and Switch 2 version. Your own
only Switch 2.
So you only have that,
right.
Which that has to happen. A console's got to phase out. It just has to.
Yeah, and that's fine because I mean there's a backlog of Switch 1 titles that I need to get, for a while anyway. And I mean it's better to have the cutoff point. Otherwise you have like just meandering forever because like PS5 has been out for 5 years and there's still PS4 titles coming out.
I think that was a big fumble from Sony. I think they should have cut that window off sooner, but I don't feel they could.
Yeah, they didn't have enough support for the 5, and they're just now starting to get traction for it. So as far as games go, anyway,
we mentioned RPGs. Switch 1 and Final Fantasy. I started playing the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster because Switch 2 has backwards compatibility with Switch 1 games. Including the physical cartridges. So I started that, and I started with 6. I thought it would be funny to work my way backwards.
Oh, it's going to be funny, all right.
It's going to be funny for us.
I'm being told it's the worst mistake I could have made with one of the best games in the series.
Yeah.
Arguably the best game in the series. 6 to 5 is not a drop, and 4 is also one of my favorites. 6 to 4 it's once you get out of the Super Nintendo era and go back to the
OG.
NES era.
Yeah.
That's where it's going to start hurting. Particularly playing 5 first before 3 is going to hurt you. It's going to hurt you
because you're
very
like,
bad.
oh man, this job system. Yeah.
And if you had done that on if you had a Super Nintendo, the NES, it would have been worse because in the old Final Fantasy 3 there were capacity points which you had to get. So in order to switch jobs, you had to also work off enough capacity points so that you could spend them to change your job.
Yeah.
Which they got rid of that in the 3 remaster,
Right.
which one of the great things about the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters was it got it as close as it could to the original without any there's no Dawn of Souls bullshit with like extra dungeons and things and super bosses.
I like the Dawn of Souls bullshit. That's how I played 1.
I consider it bullshit because it's not the original game, and that's what they
fair
were.
enough.
Are you talking about
that's
the
what they were shooting
PS1
for
and
them.
PSP remasters, remakes?
The one that I played was on
on
the Game Boy Advance.
Oh, I see. Well, they also did like when they redid.
Yeah, they did like it was a collected game. It was
There was 1 and
5
2
and 6 were called Final Fantasy Anthology.
Yeah.
Now I want to say
And
they
that
called
was the
one
first time you could legally have 5 in the United States.
and I think 1 and 2 were called Final Fantasy Chronicles, maybe.
Something like that.
There was a
one and-
collected edition.
There was 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6. And
Well, no, 3 and 4. 3 didn't come out until wasn't available in America until the 3DS or the DS
Yeah,
3D version.
that was
3D
also on the PSP though. I'm pretty sure 3 and 4.
No,
I would have to look
definitely
at-
not 3 and 4. 3 was released originally by
I don't
itself.
I don't think they ever
They used the same engine that they used for 4's 3D remake to remake 3, just with that.
Yeah,
not
they
all the
also
bells and
did
whistles.
a 4 3D remake, but I don't think 3 and 4 were ever like put on like Final Fantasy like they did with Final Fantasy Anthology or the 1 and 2.
Yeah, because for America, we didn't get a version of it until that DS version.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah.
I'm having fun with it so far.
Oh, by the way,
That's a good-
you're
that's
not
a good
going to
one.
hit Final Fantasy 2. Final Fantasy 2 is going to hit you.
It's gonna hit me.
It's arguably it's arguably the worst game in the series. I have different opinions on that, but it is a NES game through and through, and I will leave it at it's an NES RPG, and I will leave it at that.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 3 and 4 was on the PSP.
When
The DS version of it was in 2006. Yeah.
yeah, North American release in 2000,
And then the PSP was in 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah. First time it was ever released in the United States was on the Nintendo DS. What I understood that is it was released simultaneously on the PSP. That's what I thought you were saying.
No.
Okay. Yeah. Final Fantasy 2 is going to hurt you. It's going to be,
But
story-wise, I think it's strong. It's stronger than a lot of people give it credit for. But the gameplay loop is not
mechanics
fun.
of that sucked.
but can I suplex a ghost train?
No.
because that's where I am right now.
No, you
No.
can't do
No.
any of that.
No,
in
you won't.
any other-
You won't have Max either.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think I got max.
The best
yet.
the best
Yes, you did. You've played through the beginning of it.
Yeah.
That's
you
at the
had
very
Max.
beginning of the game.
That's at the very beginning of 6.
Yeah.
Which one's max?
Mex.
Mex.
MECHS.
Mex. I thought he's saying
Jesus,
max as an MAX.
no.
Mex. Okay, yeah, Mex. Yes, I have Mex. Okay, yes. We're all on the same page, I think.
The only real problem with
Sort
6
of.
is that eventually, like, you start with all these characters who have these really interesting abilities, and then eventually, once you get the ability to do magic, it kind of stops mattering.
Well,
and all you
specifically,
need,
once everybody starts being able to cast Ultima whenever the fuck they want.
yeah. When you get the espers and are able to like actually do magic, everybody beside it's not just Terra who can do it. It starts to be like, oh well, why am I even using these other abilities? I just need to
I like Sabin.
save it. I mean,
I like
they're all
Sabin.
cool. They're all their abilities are really cool and interesting, but there does become a time, and it is like fairly late in the game, where it's just, hey, I just have to like build up their use of espers so that I can get this magic on these people, and that's it.
No, but like, and they have fixed this in the remasters. But one of the cheapest ways you could go about like just get any on nearly any fight, you cast Vanish on the enemy, and then you cast X Zone. And Vanish made everyone who was Vanish. You could not be physically hurt, but you became 100% vulnerable to all spells. So you would just hit that, and then you hit Vanish, and then you wipe them out. You won. Good job.
Yeah, Pixel remasters also didn't do what the again, like we were talking, like I was talking about the PSP releases of those games, including 3, 4, 5, and 6. They put cutscenes in those that weren't in the original versions of the game.
Yeah.
as well.
I think they did that also for Anthology.
They did on the
Yeah.
PS1 versions of those
Yeah.
games. They did that as well, which was also odd, but sure, why not?
Yeah, that's been me.
Also, they fixed the protagonist for Final Fantasy V. He's Bartz. He used to be Butts.
Yeah.
And that was great. That's because of translation. I wouldn't say errors, just translation
choices,
foibles.
Yeah, it's like the remaster re-release of Akira in 2001, where they decided to call Canada a whole country.
Yeah, there you go. Canada will eventually lead to the death of Neo Tokyo.
That's also true.
Yeah.
There you go. But finishing up on Switch 2 talk, I like the kickstand, though that kickstand style, I believe, was with the Switch OLED. But it's way better than the original Switch's like little thin plastic, almost like stick of gum that's supposed to hold the thing up. So I like the way the Joy-Cons detach and attach.
Because they're magnetic, right?
Yeah, it's magnetic. It's a release button. It is not a play button.
Right.
There. So I recommend the Nintendo Switch 2. Should you go out and get one right now? No. There is not enough out yet to, in my opinion, to validate a Nintendo Switch 2 purchase unless you are a really big fan of Mario Kart or a really big fan of Donkey Kong.
Or have they released the GameCube?
Yes.
The GameCube, and there's 4 games on it.
Okay.
Not yet.
Never mind.
Not yet.
Unless you really want to play Soul Calibur 2 and Legend of Zelda.
Soul
Calibur
Calibur
2,
2, Wind Waker, Super Mario Strikers, and F-Zero GX, which
Jesus.
arguably F-Zero GX is the best F-Zero game that was ever made.
Yeah. And I could be wrong with this, but I think this is like the least amount of like stuff at launch that like just about any fucking console has had, at least to my knowledge.
I think a lot of that has to do with backwards compatibility and the available digital games.
This may be Nintendo fanboy trying to defend them. I don't really recall at the launch of the PS5 and the Xbox Series. I don't.
That's the only thing, 'cause I didn't pay attention to those.
I don't recall them having a lot of unique stuff for those systems.
You're probably correct.
And I know a lot of times like launch stuff, like a lot of times it sucks, but like just really and truly only having one game at launch is like, to me, is insane.
Like they were relying on a lot of games that you couldn't play on the Switch, but that have been around for a while, which the Switch in and of itself also kind of relied on the same thing, but that's which kind of goes along the line with that. Like last week I mentioned again on the sales charts, Cyberpunk 2077, the month before the Switch launched, was like at 200 something on the sales charts. And the month afterward, it was like 18. That's a huge jump. And the only thing to really account for that is the fact that the Switch 2 is available. We're going to get Elden Ring at some point. We're getting a Switch 2 exclusive game from Software called the Dusk Bloods. There's eventually going to be, I feel, enough that validates getting a Switch 2. For me, I got it simply... There was a new Donkey Kong game made by my favorite design team. I jumped on that. That's the reason why. Eventually, I do believe there's going to be enough on it. But if those two things don't appeal to you right now, even the GameCube emulator with only 4 games, I don't think is an appeal point right now. But eventually down the line, that will be worth it. And I think eventually getting a Switch 2 is, which is why I recommend it, but it's not one of my strongest or highest recommendations.
Yeah. The games that launched with the PS5, this coincides with what Jay said, and this is one of the reasons why I'm not early adopter consoles, were Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, which launched for both the 5 and the 4, and Demon Souls. And then
Demon Souls remake.
And then they include cross-platform titles, which is Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and then Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, Astro's Playroom, the free game, and that's it. That was the...
God damn. I guess it's just this new generation of consoles.
I think if you go to the Xbox, it's even less.
For the Xbox One and S.
The Xbox Series S and the Xbox Series X. Because you have to say that because the one previous was the Xbox One S and the Xbox One X, which were the remasters to the middle of it.
Spider-Man Miles Morales is like, what? It's not DLC, but it's also not like
it's glorified DLC.
It's like a half a game.
Now, Spider-Man 2 is a PS5 exclusive, but I mean...
Yeah.
we're slowly coming to the end of exclusivity. We just are. The only thing to me left that is exclusive is Nintendo, because they're making their own stuff. But like PlayStation games are appearing on Steam, which means they're going to eventually be on the ROG Ally, which means the ROG Ally Xbox will be running those games too.
Yeah.
So Nintendo may be the last bastion of exclusive titles for an exclusive system.
Right.
Whether or not that sells games, we won't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, like right now, I'm happy with my Switch purchase. I think it's a really good system, but there's not enough on it right now. Unless there's something you are hopelessly devoted to. And for me, it was Donkey Kong.
Yeah. And also, I mean, you can play your Switch 1 games on it. So, I mean, you have that too.
Yeah.
If you really want to play Donkey Kong.
Real quick thing, because I don't know if this... I think it's in the materials, but it may be buried in there. So you can transfer your files from your Switch 1 to your Switch 2. If you don't do it when you launch your Switch 2, it says it on the thing, you cannot do the transfer ever again.
Oh. Jesus.
So you have one shot. So like the day I got it, I had to wait till I got home and got on my Wi-Fi at home to do the transfer there, so that the system could transfer
link up,
and that way to have that, but like, I can still play my Switch 1, my information from Switch 1 to Switch 2. There was a hang up for some people. Someone who has been playing Pokemon since Red and Blue and transferring everything from the Game Boy to the Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance and the DS and 3 and all the way up through the line.
Yeah.
And they put them on the Switch, and then from the Switch 2 lost the entirety of their collection from 1998 to now, gone. That's almost 30 years of video gaming that just disappeared like that.
Sucks.
I believe they may have fixed that issue, but ow. Yeah. So if you have something like that on your system, make sure you're in make sure there's no storms in the area in case the power goes out.
Yeah.
Make sure that your Wi-Fi is right and proper, because if I would have lost that, I would have broken the Switch 2 right there. Like just out of pure rage.
Yeah.
I've only had this thing for like 3 minutes and I've lost 30 years of my fucking gaming life. Fuck that. No.
Right.
So, I believe that's it for me. Ethan, you have anything else?
No, nothing else.
There you go. Well,
Feedback?
In that case, we have just a weird feedback. Last week, we were talking about Steven Seagal and specifically wrestlers who made him shit himself. And we mentioned Vern Gagne. It was not Vern Gagne. It was Gene LaBelle. Another great legend of the like he was the pretty much the founder and the caretaker of Los Angeles professional wrestling for a number of decades. Eventually gives way to McMahon and the national expansion of it. But he is the one that choked out Steven Seagal,
who was also, I think, older than Vern Gagne at the time.
Might have been 100%. 100% on that one. And but we want to make sure. And so for the first time ever, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to open up the Travelers of the Omnibus Hall of Fame, and our first inductee is Gene LaBelle, and the reason was he choked out Steven Seagal and made him poop himself.
Yep.
If you would like to see more people added to the Hall of Fame, contact us at travelersontheomnibus at gmail.com. Again, Travelers.
Let us know if there's somebody else that made Steven Seagal shit himself. They're definitely going to go in.
Yeah.
Is it specifically Steven Seagal having to shit himself?
I would prefer.
Or do they have to just make someone else shit themselves?
Steven Seagal's like the number one person.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
If you want to induct anyone into the Steven Seagal pooped himself wing of the Travelers of the Omnibus Hall of Fame, travelersontheomnibus at gmail.com. Jody, where else may they get in contact with us?
Spotify.
Yes, take part in any of our polls for this or any of our past episodes that still have polls running, and leave a comment on any of our episodes as you see fit. Also, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being passengers on the bus this week. If you'd like to share this opportunity with people who listen to podcasts on channels other than what you listen to, we're available on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube Music through our YouTube channel, Travelers on the Omnibus, and iHeartRadio. Gentlemen, let's talk some history of cardboard and meeples. Welcome back to the second half of Travelers on the Omnibus this week. We're going to try This is a brief non-sequential history, one of our mini and very series where we pick a topic and just see where we can hit on things and talk about the history of things. This is I would say a favored hobby of the show. I think this is a good one for
I hate it, actually.
You hate? Okay, then
Ethan hates board games. That's the new podcast. Okay, then Ethan hates board games.
You can leave. You go play Switch 2 and the adults will be talking. There we go. How about that? But no, ladies and gentlemen, we're going with a brief non-sequential history of modern board gaming.
If Lance was on the show, it would be a brief non-sequential history of 4X board games.
He plays more than 4X board games.
He does.
He actually doesn't play 4X. It's like heavy Euros.
Yeah, it's heavy Euro, and it's particularly worker placement.
Right.
He loves worker placement.
He does. Yeah. He does. He's a fan.
Which I do too.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah. So 5,000 years ago, they were playing Mancala.
Yeah.
Now we're still playing Mancala, only it's called Ostia, and it involves rondels and other sorts of
and
various
also
wonderful
Trajan.
things.
Yeah.
And also Trajan.
Well, yeah, now what used to be the game is just, okay, well, let's use this as a part of the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the notion of complexity and depth has definitely increased over the years.
I think like looking at and also attempting back in the day to try and play some of the like more archaic Avalon Hill, war simulation or space simulation or whatever simulation game they were trying to do.
Oh yeah, any of those like hex encounter games.
The entry point to that was like, I hope you know a lot of math.
Yeah.
And I hope you can figure out all these like obtuse and abstract rules to figure some shit out.
Well, I think it's safe to say that like when it comes to like war games, when they used to be all those hex encounters and like, okay, here's a billion tables that you have to roll on and cross-reference and see until the coin system happened, which is the pretty much what they use in Root. Until that became a thing, like they really were they were either super simplified like Risk, or they were incredibly fucking complicated like those Avalon Hill games.
I think, and specifically, let's talk about, we can start in the 50s very briefly with a game called Diplomacy.
Yeah.
Diplomacy is a game of warring nations in World War I, but it's not a matter of if you have a tank and they have a tank, the tanks bounce off of one another. So you have to get support from somebody. Maybe you're supporting your own army, but typically you need support from another nation in order to do that. So how do you form alliances? And that part is completely off the board.
Yeah.
So that's
one
of those,
like a 60, like a 30-minute timer or something like that, or is it 60?
I believe it's 30 minutes for the first, because basically you're trying to set up everybody, and there's also, this is the longest time because everybody is still in play.
Yeah.
And then I think it can be 30 minutes to 15 minutes, depending on how you're playing it. The birth of, to me, long form board gaming can be maybe traced back to this game.
Yeah.
I think you can also bring up the fact you have, again, gaming that's not on the board. It's between the people that's going there, and such that you're playing with the same rules in every game, but the people, and also the notion of metagaming, where if you're playing with the same people over and over again, it changed, like what one person did in a previous game will be on your mind in the next game and in the next game past that.
Right.
So it's not just a matter of getting better at the system, but it's also getting better at knowing what you can and can't do with the human clay around you, which I think is very fascinating. We're going to hit the 60s very briefly. The 60s, for the most part, is kind of tame, though there is one very good game, I believe by Sid Saxon, called Acquire. That game has the hallmarks of modern board games all over it. And when I say for me, it starts around 1995. So we're talking almost 40 years. Yeah. It's maybe more or less depending on
that's a game when I first played it, and then I found out that it was like from the 60s. I was like, how in the hell is this? Because it feels so modern to like I was saying before we start. I believe that you could sit some people down who have never heard of this game and play it and ask them when was this first made, and they would say in the 2000s. Like they would give you some.
It definitely has a deal to it.
In this century, they would give you some time. They would not say. I don't even think they'd necessarily even say the 90s.
Right.
Like some might say the 80s, but even then they're 20 years off.
Yeah.
I mean, just the way it is there.
For sure.
Yeah.
The 70s and I think in the 80s, you have two things going on. One, and Jody brought this up, this is when, to me, the consumer board game really takes off because you mentioned that Hungry Hungry Hippo, and also a bent towards children also starts in board gaming because you have Hungry Hungry Hippos, you have Trouble, you have a bunch of things that show up in the 70s. In the 80s, even though Monopoly, if you play it by the rules, is a more complicated game than you usually get, but it's still it starts taking on like a focus towards children playing it, even if they're not playing it necessarily right. But it's about selling games. And Jody, if you'd like to jump in,
just
go
real
for
quick.
it.
So it's like, anything else, you look at the mainstream part of it, and like you have all the mainstream games like Life starts in the late 70s, Monopoly's still going strong. You have like different variations of Scrabble, also Scrabble, and like other like slightly obscure but more familiar, like as far as mainstream, like Rumacube, I thought was like an older game, but it didn't come out until like the 70s as well.
Rumacube was the Spiel des Jahres winner in 1980.
Oh, 1980.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's crazy.
All right. And you have then you have like somewhere around like 77, then you start having like Cosmic Encounters, which that game is of course different than when it was when it came out. But then you have like the boom of Avalon Hill, which these are like super niche, like military strategy simulation games where they're like, hexes and all these different quantifications you have to do to figure out how to do the game. And then Axis and Allies comes out in like 81. And that's when you start with that. But again, we were talking about like Fury of Dracula comes out in 83. But it's not the same game. A lot of these are like Doom.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's
Dark Tower comes out in 82, and we will talk about Dark Tower later on.
Right.
In its more
you
modern
got,
thing.
Cosmic Encounter
Cosmic Encounter.
comes out in the 70s, I believe.
It's 77.
77.
Yeah.
Yeah, the people that made Cosmic Encounter also made the Dune board game, and they made I said Borderland, but I think it's Gearlands.
That one sounds familiar.
Those are three board games that's another one where it's like those could have been modern board games. They're a little bit more known, a little bit more, but yeah, it's like, and that crew. I want to one gentleman's name is Alatka.
Yeah. I think while you're looking that up, the
Peter Alaska.
Peter, yeah, but it's a triumvirate of designers that worked on all three of those games.
I think something to kind of bring up is like these games that back in the day, like that still hold up as modern games with in some ways, like they've made a lot of changes to them to keep them modernized, but in some ways, like I don't think Cosmic Encounter has really changed all that much.
Right.
But they were seen as like a very, very niche thing.
They were very different than the mainstream board games. We mentioned Scotland Yard came out in 83 or 84, and that's another game that really stands out because during that time period, again, like if you're only a mainstream gamer, and most of us were. I mean, I was a kid at the time. I was 12.
My Aunt Julie had a copy of Scotland Yard in 1989 from Milton Bradley.
Nice.
Yeah, they popped up every once in a while because hey, it's a big hit over here. Let's see, like we have 300 million more people that some of them might buy it. Goes right there, real quick. The triumvirate: Peter Alatka, Jack Kittredge, and Bill Eberly. Excuse me. But yeah, Cosmic Encounter, Dune, Gearlands. Like Jesus Christ, like to have one of those would be enough to secure a lifetime, but like to have all three of those and within the same amount of time period,
Yeah, 80s was
amazing.
a real big boom for mainstream games that were not like the games we're talking about. Like there were so many Monopoly clones and so many roll to moves. Like there was a game called, I remember playing it a lot, called Go For It, and it was just like a yuppie version of Monopoly. There were so many of those, and like I don't know.
Well, you have the dawn of like the big four, which I believe is Monopoly, Clue, Sorry, and there's a fourth one, and I want to say it's Battleship.
There's Battleship. There's some big swingers. There's Battleship. There's Life. There's
Life. No, it is Life.
One game that cracked the mainstream and board gaming like through and through. People that didn't play board games at all, they were looked at as childish, was Trivial Pursuit. That game broke.
So my family would
81, I believe.
Something like
my
that.
family would often like on the weekends, we'd go over to my my aunt and uncle's house, and we would often play board games. And it was usually
Trivial Pursuit.
It was usually either Trivial Pursuit, Pictionary, or Scattergories.
Yeah.
Like, those were the three like
Party-ish games.
Party-ish adult games.
Yeah.
And it was either like something like that, or we didn't play Scrabble, but Scrabble is also included in those like adult games. It was either that or you know when the games in that area, and I'm talking about like the 90s.
Yeah.
When this is happening, it's either that or it's one of those like they're seen as like kiddie games where it's like, you know, Sorry or Trouble or Monopoly, Mousetrap. We weren't lucky enough to get Mousetrap.
And there again, you see more iterations with established things. Like you're not seeing like the vast variety that you now have nowadays. I think it's just. I think that it was just a cost thing.
Yeah,
it's easier to. I don't even say milk money out of this, but it's easier to tweak and change a little bit up here and then release it out again. Even then, though, like Monopoly in the 80s, that game's already an 80-year-old game at that point because it started out as the landlord's game.
Right.
The game of the virtuous life becomes the game of life, which becomes life.
Right.
That was another game that like lasted almost 100 years there. So there's a lot of iteration, but there's on previous ideas, but there's not a lot of newer ideas kind of breaching
right,
through.
because you see them do that when Monopoly, like years later, when we get to like the 2000s, especially where you have like Monopoly Junior, and then they have like 20. I'm not even talking about the licensed versions of Monopoly where you have Monopoly Star Wars, just different variations of that one game.
There was one called Monopoly Boardwalk, which was basically, let's just focus on Boardwalk. And it was a little bit different, but it's still moving down and purchasing and like hoping you don't hit something someone else has purchased. But it's effectively the same game there. Over in Europe, a little bit of different scene, and specifically over in Germany, much different scene. Like in the 80s, again, you have Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. There are people that swear to me that game had to have come out in 2010. No. The initial printing was like 1986.
Right.
Same thing with Formula D. I think Formula D is in the 1980s as well. Yeah. Formula D is to me a much better version of a roll and move because
it's the best for me. Best version of a roll and move.
It's thematic. Like the reason why you're rolling these dice is to move forward because that's what you need to do in a race in order to move forward. You have a lot of things, but to me in 1995 is when we have the first steps out of the 80s consumerism in the United States and towards opening up to a vaster world of board gaming. In 1995, I met a gentleman by the name of Klaus Teuber. I almost called him Klaus Kinski, which we were talking about Kinski, and Klaus Kinski's Settlers of Catan would have been fucking crazy.
Like you would have opened up the box and the board is just soaked in blood.
Roll a 7 and the crawl space is activated.
Yeah.
I would love to, if it was still possible, Klaus Kinski and Werner Herzog playing a game of Settlers Catan against one another. Oh my God. Like Udo Kier is there, so you have enough people to play Settlers.
I was about to say, who's the third person?
Udo
Kier, you have to at least have 3.
You got to have that, but there you go. And Isabella and Johnny is just terrified in the corner. That's just the way it is.
So Catan comes out.
Catan comes out in 1995. It wins every major German board gaming award, and it comes across the ocean and it hits here. I believe the Gen Con, the same year that they introduced the first edition of Twilight Imperium, was the same Gen Con that brings over Settlers of Catan to the United States.
That's wild.
Just to think how long in the tooth Twilight Imperium has been.
Right.
But you have that to me, and this is the first time I know, because that was a game that is very German styled. Wood pieces, excellent cardboard. Like it's a good production. It is a solid, efficient gaming system.
Right.
But it's very dry.
Yeah.
It is very dry.
It's a very dry game, but that's how the German style was.
It does what it does very well, though.
And I think the thing that really sets Catan apart, and I think one of the reasons why it really is the act of something that's in the rules, but it's not really explained in the rules, and that is the act of trading.
Yes.
Which I don't think before then was really a thing that you saw very often in board games. It's okay, you can trade cards and you can just say, like, you can just make deals, and there's no like structure for that, but it's just you can do that. So if you want to trade whatever with whoever,
well, let me go. There is structure to it because the active player is the only one that can trade with the board.
There was but it was like minimal rules was what I'm talking about.
But it's like,
but they don't tell you like, okay, this is the process of trading. It's just okay, on your turn, you can trade with people. You can trade with anybody else. They can't trade with each other, but they can trade with you.
See, because I have to set Monopoly to like, there's trading in Monopoly. There is trading in Monopoly, but to me, that's more freeform wheeling and dealing. At least in the games that I've always played. Like, it doesn't lock down to one person. And that lockdown is weird because you want what somebody else has. And they want what you have, but you can't talk about it openly because you can only direct it towards here. So in my history of playing Catan, there have been these moments where it's like, I'm negotiating through one player to another one to, hey, I've got this. And it's like, well, I have this. And we're basically offering each other the trade for ourselves. But we're offering it to the active player who doesn't want either, but we now know that that's available there. There's that little bit of structure there. There's that little bit of interplay that I feel adding that one little like hint of just a peg to kind of hold a jacket on is enough to kind of really kind of like start creating new and different ways of thinking about how you do trading. Again, we're this is the 30th anniversary. This year's the 30th anniversary of Catan, Settlers of Catan. I still have my 3rd edition box, which I have. In fact, it's right there, along with Seafarers, and also the notion of expansions for board games. This is when you start having. It's like, okay, we can tack on and add things that take it. You still have the base game, and the base game works, hopefully. But then you have the ability to then stretch it out and incorporate new things. When Toiber was first putting Settlers Catan together, it was actually a much bigger game and involved exploration as well. But it didn't work. Like Cosmos, which was the company that produces, like, no, let's rein this back in. Let's make this simpler. Because also in Germany, the Spiel des Jahres still kind of looms along. The sale of the sales of a game that wins Spiel des Jahres can go from a couple thousand to a couple 100,000 inside of Germany. That's how big that award meant. And that's only for simpler games that anybody like children, basically families can come to a table and play to. So but then they did Seafarers, and Seafarers mode, you place the tiles face down, and then you reveal them afterwards once your boats get there, and so now that exploration comes back in. So there's ideas that have to be cut in the original that you can then bring back later, but in a way to keep the base game tight, to keep it efficient, but also to keep it kind of fun, to make sure that primary loop is the best thing. The reason why for me Settlers Catan works so well coming across the ocean is you're rolling 2 dice. That's Monopoly. That's so many games where you're just rolling 2 dice or even just 1 dice. Roll dice, get some stuff, trade. It's a lot like Monopoly, but it works itself out way better than Monopoly.
Also, unlike a lot of things that have expansions, the expansions of Catan, and also I'll add the reskins of Catan, like Star Trek to Catan, change the fundamentals of the original game to where it's, if you like the original game and want more of it, but it's different, you have that option.
Yeah.
So we pass on into the new millennium, and one thing that we don't have, that you always have, sometimes you have games that require alliances. Going back to, again, we said with diplomacy, you can create a temporary alliance with someone, but it's not codified in the rules that you're going to be together to the very end of the game. In the year 2000, a gentleman by the name of Reiner Knizia, which, if you don't know that name in board gaming history, he's got about 2,000 designs. And about 1,000 of them are playable and 500 of them are good. That's kind of an old joke with him. But he was very good with the auction game, Modern Art, which is one of the best auction games ever, Ra, which is, again, another one of the auction games, one of the best games ever. But in 2000, he comes up with a game called Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is one of the first, and for the genre of that it helps bring about, is probably the first, when people think about it, is the first cooperative board game where everybody is sitting around at a table working against the game itself to try to win the game, which that tree sprouts so many games that for me is one of the easiest ways to get people into the hobby, because if you've never played Monopoly before, okay, I have to sit down and I have to teach you Monopoly, which means one of two things. Either we get enough people around the board to play Monopoly and hopefully everybody's at a same skill level or something like that, but it's still competitive, so everybody's kind of at each other's throat. And if I have to sit down at the table, I want to teach you this game, but I also have in the back of my head that I'm playing a competitive game and I want to win. And cooperative board gaming, however, everybody's working toward a common goal, is a much easier game to teach. To me, it is a much easier game to get to the table to get people to into the hobby.
Yeah.
Cooperative board gaming to me opens up these doors for board gaming that we don't see before then, and we definitely see way more after.
Yeah, right. Something that the cooperative games do that I really love is if you have somebody who like really doesn't play board games at all, it can be very daunting to, even if you show them like a simple game like a Ticket to Ride or something like that, drop that in front of them, and then because you have played the game a bunch, you're gonna be better at the game, even though like you're giving them like tips and things like this. I'm using this as an example because I've done this with my children a very long time ago. We played Ticket to Ride, and I was like, well, you need to remember this. And they didn't pay attention to any of that.
Yeah.
They just wanted to play the game.
Yeah.
And I ended up like lapping them.
Of course.
And nobody wants to get absolutely stomped in a game.
Yeah.
So cooperative games is a good way to like introduce somebody to the idea of playing board games, because then you can go, well, we're working together, so I'm not trying to do better than you. We're trying to help each other.
Yeah.
And most of the games let you be the alpha gamer, and if somebody is like just like coming into a board games or coming into the game, it is much easier. It makes the game a little bit better sometimes if you're able to go, well, you can do this, or you can do this, or this might be the better option, or something like that. So getting people who have no experience in board games at all, like cooperative games, are what I will often turn to like get somebody into a game.
And real quick, because we might touch on this later, the worst kind of board game to try and teach somebody is a semi-cooperative game.
Ooh, yeah.
Like Dark Moon.
Oh, yeah.
Where there's a trader involved, or Battlestar Galactica / Unfathomable.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
we'll touch on that.
Unfathomable was like on this shelf for like about 2 years, and I took it home. I noticed your eyes kind of judged that.
Yeah.
But there you go.
So we have Lord of the Rings, the cooperative, cooperative game.
We have cooperative games now. We're starting to see games kind of move from Europe into America. At this point, now we start seeing.
I want to.
Go for it.
I didn't mention this, and for some reason I didn't think about it, even though it's the thing that I've been thinking about this. Another big mechanism that I think comes about in this time, in this early 2000s, is the idea of deck building.
Magic. Okay, yeah. Because Magic not just it.
Well, I'm talking about the idea of deck building has been around since TCGs have been a thing, where you create your own deck. But I'm talking about like the deck building genre of board games. You can have this idea of building a deck, but that's the central the main mechanic of the game, and that starts with Dominion. Donald X. Vaccarino. That is a mechanic. I think that is like one of the that along with like cooperative games are two of like the biggest mechanics that have kind of like echoed throughout. Like they're going to come out with deck building games or something that uses deck building games as a mechanics. It's kind of like how Mancala now is a mechanic in a game. Deck building is now a mechanic in the game where, okay, you have deck building and worker placement. Like that facilitates your worker placement or something like that. So I think that is like a very important thing for us to like call out, because I think like of modern board games, I think that is one of the top like creations that in the form that it is now of modern board gaming.
Yeah, Dominion came out in 2008.
Oh, okay, yeah. So that's still that.
That's still part of the early 2000s.
Well, and I think it goes with what I was about to say in the fact that once you have the quote unquote, and real quick, I would like to give credit right now to Quentin Smith, formerly of Shut Up and Sit Down, now of Quinn's Quest, and we'll talk about Shut Up and Sit Down in the internet, get the game reviewer here in a little bit too. But a lot of what my thinking on this came from his talk at Game City, and I want to say in around 2015, 2016. And there's this notion of cross-pollination of game design. American and British game design is a lot about theme. It's about how can like big over they call it Ameritrash or Amerithrash, however you want to put that. In this notion of these big, boisterous, like almost too overly fucking put together games.
Yeah.
Which you get from the School of Avalon Hill. You also get from Milton Bradley, Parker Brothers. You have all that.
Yeah.
Then you have this German style of board gaming, which is about efficiency, about clear, clever, precise, almost to the point and thoroughly hitting the abstract game, the abstract game of like who can put together the best engine, what is the most efficient thing.
Yeah.
But those games also lack theme. As good as Lord of the Rings is, and it is a good co-op game, I feel you could have put any other fantasy theme on it. I think it could have worked.
Yeah.
But
in Reiner Knizia games, most of those will like, especially like very recently, there's been like a ton of like reprints of his games where they have had a completely different theme than what they used to. Some of them still keep it, like you have Raw, of course.
Tigris and Euphrates.
Tigris and Euphrates is a big one. But like a lot of them, like I think just recently, like I can't remember what company it was, but they came out with reprints of 3 Reiner Knizia games, and they're like, these are going to be like space themed games, and they just decide that's what's going to fit with them, and that happens with a lot of his games because his games are mechanics focused, and it's more about the mechanics than it is about how they tie to any one theme. It's just what you can kind of bend to fit those mechanics into.
Well, we mentioned the game very brief, but Stefan Feld is a lot of the
Stefan
ways.
Feld.
In fact, you have these mechanisms that can give you Trajan, but they can also give you the castles of Burgundy.
Yeah.
They can also give you In the Year of the Dragon.
Yeah, we call those like point salad games.
He's really big on that.
Specifically is point salad.
And he's really big on, I think that a lot of his games have like the themes in a vacuum are interesting, but that you are right, they very rarely like fit very closely with the game. I can always look past that because I like his game so like I like the mechanics so much, and the themes are still like kind of interesting even though they don't like fit with it with what they are. Yeah. But when you get to like the American style games, it's more about like how do the mechanics fit with the theme. The theme is the most important thing.
When do we start getting the resurgence or surgence of hidden movement games like Whitechapel?
Moment, please.
Sure.
So when we talk about cross pollination, you mentioned Dominion. Dominion takes place in this like how build the best kind of village kind of thing. And that's going to do, but you could then kind of staple kind of anything to that. Then in the next generation of deck builders, you get things like Thunderstone. And Thunderstone started to kind of realize that, hey, we can play around with theme here and the way the mechanics of cards work. We like, if you see a demon or a dragon, that's a very destructive thing. So this is something that will like maybe take things out of it.
Yeah.
Go into the next generations of deck builders, you get things like Legendary, where it's like now we have multiple heroes play extremely differently.
Yeah.
And so like the themes of what you're doing with these cards are constantly evolving.
Well, then Legendary is like, hey, you're going to take Alien and you're going to play through the
Alien movies,
all the Alien games,
and then you have Ascension and DC Deck Builder as well.
I
think those are more in like those are really kind of in that first wave. They're just the ones that start, well, DC Deck Builder less, but Ascension kind of starts with instead of having groups of cards, we're going to put it all in one deck, and we're going to give you 2 resources that you're building up.
Yeah.
And then DC Deck Builder kind of, well, let's make that into a theme.
Right.
Let's put a theme on there.
Right.
Yeah. And then as you get further, then you start going from just deck building to deck building worker placement, things like Lost Ruins of Arnak, Dune Imperium. Things like that. And then again, this is more cross pollination.
Right.
We're now combining game forms together to produce these more complex but still easy to grok kind of systems, which I think is been enormously just amazing as far as that goes.
Yeah.
We go back to the hidden movement games. Hidden movement games start with Scotland Yard.
Yeah.
And 5 people trying to find Mr. X as he's going throughout the cabs, buses, and underground of London, and sometimes using secret ferries in order to get across the River Thames. So you have all these things kind of going on there. How do you refine this? Well, we have Fury of Dracula. Fury of Dracula is okay. It's Dracula, which this is where the theme of that game to me is very perfect because.
Yeah.
Alone, no hunter stands up against Dracula.
Yeah.
But together, no Dracula can stand up against the hunters versus the entire team of them. So it's this cat and mouse game where it's actually 4 mice, but they slowly become the like the bulldog if they're all formed together. So you have this, and that's kind of cool. But that the later iterations in particular, that's when you really see okay, instead of dice movement, we're going to use card movement, and we're going to do that in there. To me, this isn't the final refining. There's been a lot. In fact, some at this table may argue that there's a game that's better at this. I don't, but that's in a personal opinion. But you have Letters from Whitechapel, which was it's not Paolo Mori, but it's both the guys are Italian names, and I can't remember them right now.
Can't remember them.
That is so steeped in theme. And the mechanics work so well with the theme. Everything ties in well together. Even the additional stuff you can add, like Jack's letters to the press, can be used by Jack to basically add effects into the game.
I cannot pronounce this name.
Gianluca Santopietro. Gianluca Santopietro. So and just an absolutely fantastic design. Later on, you also get Spectre Ops. That's the game that I was mentioning right there. Spectre Ops is okay. I think Letters from Whitechapel did it perfect. I think there's a bit more complexity to Spectre Ops than is necessary for the game to be fun, and it kind of takes a little bit away from it. It's not a bad game. I do want to stress that right now. And that was Matsuichi, wasn't it?
No, that was
What game was it?
Spectre
for some
Ops.
reason I have
I want to say that was Matsuichi.
I think so. Yeah, I think you might actually be right. But yeah, I mean, there's that one. That one was good. I don't like it as much as I used to.
Emerson Matsuichi.
Yeah.
So Emerson Matsuichi made Spectre Ops, and he also made Century, Spice Road, and the Century games, and those are completely different types of games.
But yeah, you have that one. More modern ones that have come out recently. Mind Management.
That's a good one.
Beast,
and then Sniper Elite.
I enjoyed Sniper Elite
which
a lot.
shows that back in the day, if you played like a big thing that has changed with modern board games is if you have a game that is based on a property. It used to be like, this is a terrible game. I remember we had.
Well, it wasn't even necessarily a terrible game. It was the exact same game, just with a different coat
but then
of paint.
sometimes it was just like it was just like at best a mid game. Like I had the Power Rangers game, and it was not a good game. Didn't even make sense how the hell you played that. But nowadays, like if you get a game that is based off of a property, the two that I just mentioned, Sniper Elite is based off a video game. Mind Management is based off of a comic book. It's not like a death sentence. It's not like this game sucks now. The game might suck. You might get the Ravensburger Gargoyles game, which I have seen reviews for, and it is supposed to be absolutely atrocious. But then there are a lot of games that are based off some property that are actually really, really good. And in fact, kind of more often than not, they're gonna, if it's made by a decent company, there's gonna be a decent game. So it's not like, I'm not even gonna try to play this thing. Or it used to be like, or it was a trivia game where like the only person there would be like one person who actually knew the trivia and everybody else would just get stomped. But yeah, I think that's an interesting thing.
I would bring in the Unmatched series and the licensing. They've done that. They did with Marvel, and I think they did a great job. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is about to come out with them. I think that was a great thing that they put together. I definitely believe there is more, for lack of a better term, love put into these licensed games because they're trying to honor the license as opposed to just pushing out a product. Now, I think pushing out a product still happens.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I think you kind of have.
But like with like the Villainous series, it's they've done Marvel, Star Wars, and Disney is
Dice Throne in much
Dice
same
Throne
way. Yeah, because there's Marvel Dice Throne.
But Dice Throne and Unmatched are interesting because they're their own thing, but then they also like bring in other properties.
Horrified, the Universal Monster version was very good.
Yeah, but yeah, it's not a clear indicator like it used to be. And even like I would say like in the early 2000s, mostly it was like, oh, if this is a licensed game, it's gonna suck.
Yeah. Or is just a reskin, like the Simpsons Monopoly.
Or
is just Monopoly.
Is a reskin of something. Hey, let's play Yahtzee, but it's a giant Homer Simpson head. Great.
It's different from something being just a reskin with a license of a property, as opposed to an entire game being completely changed because they're also including a license onto it. Take an example. Monopoly Jurassic Park.
Yeah, how'd that one go?
It is absolutely the worst iteration of one of the most frustrating board games to play, where it changes one of the core functions of the game of owning property that could just be destroyed whenever a giant T-Rex lands on it, and being penalized whenever you're not rolling high enough movement numbers and getting lapped by a T-Rex to continue to get punished because you're just in this endless cycle.
Yeah, the last thing that Monopoly needed was Munchkin take-back mechanics.
Yeah.
Speaking of Munchkin, I mean, we could briefly talk about Munchkin.
Steve Jackson Games is a big publisher.
Steve Jackson is a big publisher and was existent in a time and putting out game designs that were not going to make it mainstream.
No, yeah.
But could definitely find a home and find a profitable home with folks that are playing games like Magic, playing games like D&D.
Yeah.
Like the whole idea of Munchkin, Munchkin is a novel idea. Let's take the devolvement of a D&D party that will happen a lot in a D&D game, and then we'll make it a game in and of itself. And I think that's because that is not a co-op game, but every so often it's like, hey, I need help with this.
Yeah.
Okay, they're getting 3 treasures if you beat that. I'll give me 2 treasures. Okay, all right, we're gonna fight the thing together. Hang on, this other guy comes in and now he makes the thing more powerful. It's like, okay, can you do anything? Like there is a game there that I think works. But I think it only works a couple times, and then kind of the life kind of goes out of it.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion, in the history that I've had. That is anecdotal, but that's just what I've dealt with in the past. I still think there's stuff to be done there. But yeah, Steve Jackson Games, the game with blackmail and force, Revolution. I think Revolution was a fantastic game. That was their first of that type of game that they produced.
That's one of his best. One of that company's best.
He had the Illuminati card game, which
their card games is what really like Munchkin. You got the Shay Geek line.
Shay Geek. I think Ninja Burger is another one from
possibly.
them.
I'm not super familiar, but like really like the Shay Geek and the and Munchkin more than the others.
Yeah,
is what really like that's damn near mainstream. Like you can. Like for a while there, I have noticed that Walmart has kind of pulled back from the less, they used to have like, Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion was in Walmart. Now you don't really see that anymore. They're kind of pulling back to more the more
I bought my
mainstream.
I bought my copy of Jaws of the Lion from Walmart on clearance for $20.
Yeah, damn! I wish I could have saw that.
Yeah,
but
because I thought you had it.
No, I thought about buying it a whole bunch of times, but I never pulled the trigger. Mostly because I would have wanted to play it with my kids, and
Now that's
barely fucking see them.
That's my way of playing Gloomhaven because it's smaller, it's more compact.
Yeah, if I was going to play Gloomhaven, that's really the version that I would want to play.
There's less choice interference, I guess, in the best way.
But they've kind of pulled back from that. But Munchkin was one of those games that was at Walmart, you know.
And if you go to Target definitely has dipped. Yeah. I wouldn't even pass the toe. I think they got the whole foot.
Target has Brass Birmingham.
Yeah.
Who at Target is buying Brass Birmingham?
At least one person, because I've seen one of those boxes disappear from there. So somebody had to have.
That's crazy. Hopefully they knew what they were getting. My first copy
of Pandemic I bought from Target.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have a pretty wide selection of like more modern board games than what they used to. How did we even get here? I don't know,
but I wanted to briefly talk about both hidden role and social deduction hidden character games. Like, of course, you know, one of the best ones. I guess we can go reverse. Is Blood on the Clock Tower. Jay's run that game several times, and that starts with what hidden role games. What Werewolf? Is Werewolf really the first?
Werewolf started as Mafia.
Yeah, like Mafia is
social deduction / hidden role.
Yeah.
Mafia is arguably the first in that genre.
Yeah,
and though the history is very muddled, I would point to.
And that one starts kind of like it's more of like a parlor game. It's just like
it wasn't even a parlor game. It was literally a psychological experiment and then it just kind of it became a game, and then the game kind of took on a life of its own, and it's kind of just like thrown out into the world.
Something you don't think about with games like Mafia or Werewolf. You can play if you just have some index cards, you can play that game. Like you don't need anything else. To play that game.
In fact, Mafia, the initial version of Mafia, you just have people, like you just have the townsfolk and Mafia.
Yeah.
And that's like, there's no like, well, how do we figure out who the Mafia is? Well, we have to kind of work, like, what were you doing? And then it's like, who would want to have this person killed? And like, then, okay, you thought it was me, or you thought it was him, and then he died. And then you thought it was him, and then he died. You're the Mafia because you keep pointing them out. And it's like, it just literally starts as this cold read of the people around you, and then it slowly started picking up rules. And I love the No Pun Included has a video on Mafia and the history of social deduction. It is one of their finest videos, and we're going to mention them again here in a little bit. But I definitely want to point out that video because it shows you the history of this genre of games and how it came about, and then ends with Blood on the Clock Tower, which right now is the latest. Most complex without being so complex you can't grok the system.
Yeah, I think that game as like approaching it and never playing one of these like social deduction games can appear from the outside in a little convoluted, but it's not as convoluted as trying to explain deception murder in Tokyo.
Hong Kong.
Yeah. Which I do love that game.
Yeah.
That's a fun game. But if you have more than one new player, good luck.
Yeah.
Because trying to get people not to cross the streams on some of those game mechanics, where you have the evidence and then you have the weapon.
Yeah.
The only time I played that game, I played and there was a child.
Oh.
The child was the witness.
Oh.
And people started accusing the not murderer as the murderer, and he was going, "It's not him," and starts pointing at the murderer. I'm like, "Oh, you're the witness, death."
Yeah, I think that was a problem of like you don't have a kid play that game because
that's a 100%er. Like,
but I played it. One of my main times I remember playing it is we played and there were a lot of new players. It's probably my best experience playing a game with Shmoo, where he was like running the game and like it actually went really well, and we played like 3 times in a row.
I was probably in that.
It was probably it was at one of the. It was at a convention. It wasn't.
Maybe not.
It wasn't.
It was Geekonomicon.
It was Geekonomicon.
Oh, I wasn't there.
It was like the almost, if not the max amount of players. I don't remember what it is.
8.
Because we were off over at the Shogunate table playing Shogunate, which was another game about hidden roles and but in a much more sit down to the table card game kind of way, and that was really cool to be playing it that way.
But yeah, I think with hidden roles, like something you like those more than just about any of them, you can draw a straight line from Mafia to where you get to Blood on the Clock Tower, because then you've got
with a weird bump to the right for Citadels.
Yeah,
Citadels is less a social deduction game and more of everyone's chosen a role this time, and we don't know who's chosen it, and we kind of have to be very careful as to
that's an interesting take on it.
Mission Red Planet is in a similar
Mission
way
Red
as well.
Planet. Yeah, that kind of like that's kind of a branch off from that. But you've got like, okay, we've got Mafia and Werewolf. Okay, how do we get this to a more? How do we get this to have a little bit more structure? Well, now you've got the just flew out of my head. There's a King Arthur version of it. Resistance.
Yes,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Resistance.
You've got
Avalon,
Resistance.
Yeah.
Let's add a little bit. Okay, well let's shorten the game to where you can play multiple ones of these games very, very quickly. Well, Resistance, the main thing about it was that let's structure this game so it plays much quicker, because Mafia and Werewolf can go on for fucking ever if people aren't doing what they need to do. So let's structure it and really shorten it. Let's get it down to 30 minutes. What if we can do a little bit less? And let's make it to where we can play this from somebody running it in an app. One night Ultimate Werewolf or one night Resistance, and then there's also the kind of offshoot of, well, how about we tack social deduction onto a game, and that's where you get Battlestar Galactica. It's social deduction, but then they're actually the structure of a game.
And this is where that cross-pollination comes back in the air, because now you have all of these ideas in the same space mixing with one another and kind of like coalescing, and like you have, because Battlestar is definitely social deduction. It's also long form social deduction. You have to keep that. If you're immediately a Cylon, you have to keep that lie going for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And there's a tenseness from second one all the way to the end with that. Can be. Now sometimes a game will snowball one way or the other, and that does happen. But you also have like kind of a worker placement, because you have to move where you need to go in order to perform a certain action to make things work. You have these, not just, you also have these like negotiations when a crisis comes up. It's like, what can you contribute and how can you contribute? And you have to do it in these obsequious manners, because to say directly would kind of yield out who is and who isn't.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I've only played one bad social deduction game, and it wasn't even the game itself. It was more the variant. So there's multiple like actual social deduction games based around Salem for some reason. There's like 3 or 4 of them.
Oh yeah.
But there's one just called Salem from 2016. And the normal version of the rules, when you're playing like 6 players, you're trying to figure out separately with hidden choices who the witch is. But it's not any of the players at the table. It's one of the townsfolk that you have to figure out separately. But at the end of it, you all have to have figured it out together separately who the witch is, and then you win the cooperative game. There's a 7-player variant where you don't do that, and it becomes like Werewolf and these other games where you're trying to pick out which player is the witch. That mechanic shouldn't have added that because it doesn't actually work with the fundamentals of the game. It actually throws a monkey wrench into the game. But for the most part, social deduction games are awesome when you stay close to your original, mindset.
Yeah, there's tons of them. There was also there's that company who does the games that look like a book, and they're all like some time period. There's like Salem, Hollywood, and they're all like a date.
And it's all a year, yeah.
Yeah, it's all like a date. There's
Tortuga.
Also, there's one that's like in the Wild West.
You have all of them, right?
We specifically, Bianca has all but 2 of them. She's missing Hollywood in 1946, I believe that's what it is. And
check Barnes and Nobles. I know they have a whole bunch of them.
We have the capabilities. It's just more so trying to like go out and acquire them.
Yeah,
and then there's another one that they came out with recently.
Facade Games. I'm almost positive that's the developer because they make them look like books.
Yeah.
Which let me say, there is something also to be said for production values. Old like board games in the United States were almost the exact same thin fucking box, and you had to fit it in there so the thing with it. And like some variations here and there. Maybe it's a square, maybe it's a weird oblong rectangle, but it's almost like the same thing. Then you get to this era where like they try to make these things look attractive on a wall because in a lot of ways they're like a collection of books or a collection of records, and this is a collection of my favorite pastime, and I want to be able to kind of show it off to people.
Similarly, there's a company that came out with Monopoly, Sorry, Clue, and that bookcase style. We originally got all 4 of them because there was Monopoly, Clue, Sorry, and one other game.
Is it Life?
No, it's not Life.
It's not Life.
They have a version of Life. I've seen.
Yeah.
Since then, they now have 9 in total.
Yeah.
That was good there. So
Scrabble, I think was
Scrabble.
one. Scrabble. I don't know if it was one of the original ones, but I know they have that one now.
So
and I know they have Life now.
We've talked a lot about some specific examples. We've talked about the generation of design and things moving around to one another. But one thing that I feel is a ripe ground for what we can talk about here is the internet in 3 forms. The first form I will say of the internet is Amazon. So Amazon is a marketplace that can touch the entirety of the world. And as such, it gives people a location to put things to be sold. And I will say a good portion of the collection that I have was bought on Amazon. My initial version of Arkham Horror was bought off of Amazon. I had gotten a Kindle for Christmas and gave me a month's worth of Prime. And since then, I've been a Prime member since then. But that was where most of my board games were bought if they weren't bought from a friendly local game store or from Target. I would say it would go number 1, Amazon, period. And so you have this worldwide marketplace where these things can go on here. In particular, the game Millions of Dollars, which is one of my favorite negotiation games.
Oh, it's a fun one.
That never had, to my knowledge, an American release. I bought it through Amazon from Great Britain. Had to pay some customs. Did not mind doing it. Came over here and I have like one of my favorite negotiation games of all time. I think it's actually in the back seat of my car right now. If I had to say that, because I'm willing. And
it's a good pick up and play game.
I'm willing to play that game anytime, and that also goes with party games because it's minimum 4, max 9. And it plays 9 max 8, excuse me. Plays 8 extremely well, which for a lot of board games
doesn't work that way.
Doesn't fucking work. Like you get to, especially if it's a game involving turn-based shit, it definitely doesn't work once you get past 4. Like it starts like the worst expansions to get, quote me on this, for Settlers Catan are the 5 to 6 player expansions. It adds too much fucking time to that game. That game should not be that fucking long. So just want to get that out of my chest and out in the airwaves. So Amazon's the first. The second one is YouTube. So YouTube then opens up to kind of a initially, maybe not so now, but to a democratization of presenting content to the world. And so one of the things that ends up happening there is you get board game presenters that are all around the world, even American based. Like for instance, Tom Vassell, who is, I think, the owner and runner of the longest running like board game like review.
Dice Tower.
Like the Dice Tower, which still to this day I believe produces quality, both in terms of informative and just fun to watch.
They give away awards. At Gen Con,
and their awards worth noting because of the.
Oh yeah, they display at Gen Con after they do the awards. You will go to these people's booth and they will have the Dice Tower, like they mean something.
And Tom doesn't vote on those.
If the board game shows the word Dice Tower Essential on there, this is a game that a consensus of some of the best board game reviewers have come together and said,
Right.
this absolutely is something that needs to be.
Well,
in
yeah,
your
what he
collection.
does with those is like they like work with, I think now it's All Play, where they will like Tom will be like, hey, this is a game that I think is good, or somebody around him will be like, this is a game that we think is very good, and they will literally go to All Play and say like, hey, can you get this game so we can make sure that people can play it?
Yeah. Because if you're going to tell people, hey, this needs to be in your collection,
So like,
you can't. Oh, that's great. Where is it? Well, you have to go through a Moroccan website to get this weird French designer, and he makes them himself. And you can't do that. You can't do that to people.
It's really hard to understate how like the impact of the Dice Tower, and I think that they do a good job of like having. I was thinking about this like an interesting thing with like in the 90s, if you wanted to hear about a video game, you bought a magazine and you could read about the video game and see if it was good and read some strategies about it or whatever, and reviews, and see like, okay, they gave this one 5 stars, or I think GamePro used to do like heads or something like that.
Yeah.
But there wasn't that for board games for a very long time.
No.
And what really that became board game reviewers on YouTube. Like, okay, or like, hey, I want to see how this game plays. Board game people on YouTube giving you how to plays. Like that's the two things, is the reviews and the how to plays.
Specifically,
like really
watch it played is the big one on that one.
Yeah,
really.
Rondo runs through it.
Yeah. He's not as good as he used to be.
Yeah, he used to be really good.
Random Rondo shade of
Well, like
he
does. It's hard to explain exactly.
He didn't replace himself with AI, did he?
No, but
okay.
It's somewhat something. It's not too far from that, but he does like sponsored content, if that makes any sense. It's more about that than it is about like showing a game that he likes.
So the introduction of possible biases.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, this idea of, okay, now if I see something talk about a game and I go, oh, that looks interesting, then I go, or someone like Lance is like, hey, I got this game. What I can do now is go on YouTube and be like, hey, let me pull up a review or a how to play.
Well,
see if I like
some
this.
you don't even need to do that. The instruction manual and the thing will have a QR code to go to a watch it played link.
A big thing nowadays is having a QR code. Hey, just watch it played, because he's
also before we drop like a bunch of other YouTube channels, because we watch a lot of them. BoardGameGeek.com.
Yeah.
Also,
the Board Game Geek was the other thing besides YouTube. That might have been the next thing that you were gonna mention, but that is.
I wasn't. There's a different thing entirely, but now that you mention it, yes, board and one of the things, Board Game Geek also is a good place where all this coalesces. Now, if there's one thing I do not like about Board Game Geek, it's the hotness list, because that's more about like what's being talked about, whether it's positively or negatively, and there's a bit more focus in that area that I wish they didn't do.
Yeah.
But as a repository for board gaming knowledge and what these games are,
and the ability to like connect with people to talk about board games, or to ask a question, or to 90% of the time, if you're wanting a text-based question, if you want an answer to a board game question, and you want text-based, it's going to be Board Game Geek is where you look, because they have forums, they have people uploading stuff for like, okay, here's a little variant of the game, or here's I made dividers for this game that you can print out for free,
right?
Or
my favorite thing right now about Board Game Geek, when you go to most of everything, at least in the high end of their rankings, they have a button called Sleeve It, and you can click there, and these are the types of sleeves you need.
Oh, nice!
And this is how many sleeves you need.
That's really good.
And that alone,
yes,
Board Game Geek. Thank you very much.
They also have a YouTube channel, as well as no pun included. Shut Up and Sit Down. We already mentioned the Dice Tower.
Yeah, I want to go back to no pun included real quick. Efka and Elaine, I believe.
I think that's her name.
Yeah, very good 20 to 40 minute reviews, and when they break out of that and go over an hour, it's some of the best. Like their most recent review is on Arcs, and it's over an hour and a half, and it is point simply just a fantastic review of the game, what the game represents, what inspired the game, and how that comes across and plays there. That's another example, real quick, of Arcs being a notion of cross-pollination. There are themes in that game, but it's not just themes, it's also anti-themes. It's literally a deconstruction of the typical 4X genre just by its base game.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when you get to the expansion stuff and you realize it's kind of based off of like one of the most fantastic science fiction series of all time, holy shit. Like there is so much good thought in the theme and the mechanics, and they all work and blend well together. Arcs knocked Jesus Christ. Arcs knocked Mysterium out of my top 5. It is exceedingly good and fascinating, and I know we're going with it, but one of the best reviews and encapsulations of that has been from Efka out of No Pun Included. Similarly with Tom Brewster out of Shut Up and Sit Down. And now we've gotten like Shut Up and Sit Down is a good. We now have generations of Shut Up and Sit Down.
Yes.
Because the initial is Quentin Smith and Paul Dean, and then Matt Lees comes in. And then now it's Matt Lees and Tom Brewster, and like the originators have gone off and they're doing their own things.
Right.
Yeah.
Still within like the genre of gaming.
Yeah.
And I think it's fascinating that we now have these different generations and different voices coming out of and different purposes coming out of the same creators on the internet.
No Pun Included and Shut Up and Sit Down are interesting because there's basically like you could roughly put these channels into 2 categories, and they're either we're just going to give you like straight up reviews, which is like mostly like what the Dice Tower does, Game Boy Geek. There's another guy that I used to watch a lot and I can't remember, where it's just we're just going to give you a review. I'm going to tell you a little bit how the game goes. And of course, like Dice Tower does extra things too, but when you look at their reviews, that's what it is we're going to tell you a little bit about how the game plays, and then we're going to give you our opinions on the game. Whereas No Pun Included and Shut Up and Sit Down are that genre where we're going to tell you something about the game. We're going to tell you about how we like it. We're going to tell you the pros and the cons, but we're going to do it, but we're going to wrap it up in this. We're gonna take tangents, and we're gonna maybe talk about other things on top of talk. No Pun Included is big on this, which I am not saying is a negative thing. I love when they go into like detail about something tangentially connected. But we're gonna wrap it up in like we might have some skits in here. We might try be funny. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But most of the time, I think it does. But we're going to we're going to have a whole thing that we're going to do on top of just giving. We're not just going to give you the review. We're going to give you all this extra stuff. So I think it's interesting thinking of like how similar those two are together versus like some of the other people.
I want to point out from Shut Up and Sit Down, Tom Brewster's, I think about a year, maybe year and a half ago, review of John Company, which also both like cheekily, but also points out about British colonialism. Yeah. Like it's a very well done review. Tom in recent years has just really Tom Brewster, because we have Tom from the Dice Tower. But
Tom Aslan and I have the same birthday date.
Nice.
Oh my!
I think he's like 10 years older than me though.
Okay, there you go.
You mentioned Mysterium. So there are like 3 games, more than 3 games. So there's a Mysterium. There was Obscura or Obscuria. There's Mysterium Park. But there's also Dixit, because and I'd like to use the term abstract, but that actually means something completely different.
Yeah.
But they are in theme abstract-ish, like not in board game theme, but in theme themselves. Mysterium. You're playing like, ghosts or whatever, or you're trying to find
psychics.
You're psychics trying to find a ghost.
The person giving you clues is a ghost.
Right. And Dixit, you have like a bunch of random pictures of art, and the storyteller that's passed on to different players during the course of the game is, you want to say a word or a phrase, and you could say, glass or something, but as long as it's, not specifically, directing towards it's very hard to explain Dixit actually,
without seeing the game. Without
game.
seeing the game in front of you,
Yeah.
it can be hard. They're cards with weird art. All three of them use this idea that there is a deck of cards with weird art on them, and you're using that art to interpret something, be it a clue that the person who cannot speak but can only give you the cards is doing, or in the case of Dixit, you want you're giving a card and a clue, and then everybody else is giving a card that they think kind of matches that clue,
right?
And you want most of the people to pick yours, but not
everybody
one.
Yeah,
because otherwise you don't get any points,
right?
Dixit's great. Dixit's a good party game because you can play a lot of people.
Dixit is one of the few competitive party games that I like because of the conceit of the game.
Yeah.
It's I guess I'm going to do this metaphorically. In giving your clue, when you're the person putting the clues down, you have to give up wheat without giving up the whole farm.
Yeah.
Like you have to give just enough that somebody picks it up, but not everybody picks it up, which I think is fantastic. But now, so let's talk about Mysterium just real quickly. And once again, I want to bring it back to the cross-pollination because I think that's really the most powerful thing is that we're getting so many game types now that are just incorporating everything. Of the big four, Monopoly, Clue, and Scrabble may also be the big four. But Clue is probably my favorite on that because there's a lot in that game that's going off that isn't on the board; it's off board. But
except for the roll to
but
move part.
there's
roll
three
to move is the only thing that really holds that
there-
game back.
I feel there's three things.
Okay.
So one of them, yes, we've already mentioned. Like I need to get to the kitchen to make my accusation because I've figured it all out. I've rolled a 2. Shit.
Yeah.
All right. They rolled a 12. Okay, they're at the kitchen. Okay, they don't know it yet. I'm gonna roll again. Okay, I've rolled a 3. I need another 5 more spaces.
Yeah.
They're using the secret passage to go to the conservatory. They're gonna make another guess. Oh, they may have it. I've rolled a 3 again. They use the conservative. They're back in there. They accused it in 1. That's something that can happen.
Yeah.
But if I am 3 spaces away and on 2, I roll a 2 and my whole turn is wasted. There is a point in Clue where I feel the need to move around becomes too much, and so the roll and move part is the first. The second part is I don't see it, but my brain does. I'm playing one of the 6 characters. I may have actually been the murderer.
Oh yeah.
But I have to. I'm trying to figure out that I was the what.
Yeah.
So there's this little thing in the that's more that's more subconscious than conscious.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is, wait, one of us is there's a murderer loose. Quick, let's all split up in one, and we only are working for ourselves. Again, those are more 2 subconscious things, but that to me. So Mysterium comes along and says, hey, that roll and move shit, first of all, we don't even have a board. We have some cardboard to be able to arrange shit, but it's all cards and our imaginations. Cool. First thing, boom, done. Second, I'm not the murderer. Nobody at this table is the murderer. So I'm working to, and then the third thing is we're all working together.
Yeah.
One of us has a way more different job than the rest of us.
Yeah.
Maybe it's better, maybe it's worse. It's all up to how you feel. But to me, that boiled out all of the bad that's in Clue and left the mystery, solving a puzzle, and making it cooperative, made that game so much better. It's one of the reasons why it's been now in my top 10, but it was in my top 5 for so long since first starting playing it.
That's just a deduction game.
Yeah.
As opposed to the social deduction where you're trying to find out somebody by just talking.
Yeah.
That is their mechanics in the game. I think from there you get Mystery of the Abbey.
Mystery of the Abbey. Well, Mystery of the Abbey is Mystery of the Abbey is more in line with Clue because you're.
I'm talking about like drawing a line from
just straight
Clue,
between
Clue
deduction
to
and
to
specifically
things like
Mystery
that.
of the Abbey also because it's the theming of it is based off of Umberto Eco's in the Name of the Rose, which read it, watch the movie. Sean Connery plays instead of something
Detective
like
Monk.
Yeah, Detective Monk as opposed to the priest's exorcist.
Yeah.
It's way better. It's way better with Sean Connery. I'm just saying that right now. But yeah, so the final thing as far as the internet goes is crowdfunding. and in particular Kickstarter, but now also GameFound and a whole bunch of other things.
Backer Kit now does its own thing.
Does its own thing as well. You have there are board gaming ideas out now that previously would not have gotten done because a mainstream company would not put this thing together because of just the enormous amount of cost on the front end just to get everything put together in order to be able to ship it out in there, and then the back end cost. Same thing.
And also the ridiculous nature of some of the games. Like it was like, all right, Tommy, why don't you pitch me the game? All right, Bill, here's the game: Dinosaur Tea Party. I don't think so. I think we're gonna have to make a pass on that one.
First one of those being Alien Frontiers.
Alien Frontiers. I own that game. It's amazing.
Alien Frontiers in that the one really big one that a lot of people look to, though Alien Frontiers is the first in that regard. Zombicide.
Zombicide is the
Zombicide started a whole company by the name of Simon.
Yeah.
And they've had some bad years since, but
they're having some bad years now.
But you also in the card game world, the people who did Exploding Kittens is another thing that kind of just popped
Unstable
off.
Unicorn.
Unstable Unicorn.
Yeah.
Doomlings is another one out there that's also very. So you have card games that have also come from that. Throw Burrito. Yeah. Which you now see in Target.
Yeah.
Along with Throw Avocado.
Right.
Yeah. It is the weird thing is like it is undeniable that like Kickstarter has had like a big impact on tabletop in general, but you've also got be it a there've been some TCGs who have come out on Kickstarter. There are a lot of RPGs and stuff like that are on like crowdfunding. It has also led to like some bad things, some bad things. The idea of FOMO.
I was about to say
CMON
FOMO.
has gotten. I think that is one of the main reasons why like CMON isn't doing as well, because they have their whole gimmick was we're gonna throw tons and tons of shit in this Kickstarter, and you're gonna get a good value, but it's only gonna be on Kickstarter, and if you don't get it on Kickstarter, then
that's it.
Then
good luck
on the
later.
secondary market where you got to pay 6 times as much as what you would have paid for it.
Yeah,
and that can only sustain for so long. I think also the prevalence of, we have to have miniatures in this game no matter what, and they have to be super big and super, and like really detailed. And don't worry if the game is actually behind it is any good.
Cthulhu Wars.
You have to, and even better, it needs to be a campaign game where you can play it. For 20 games, even though nobody's actually going to play it for 20 games.
I'm glad that trend is kind of slowed down.
It's still a lot of what's on Kickstarter. It's why
it's
most
still
of the,
pretty fast.
I don't look on Kickstarter very often because that's what, and GameFound is even worse because it's that it's actually done by a company, although they're not the only ones on there, who is mostly like, we're going to do big, convoluted, detailed miniatures, and that's going to be the main focus of the game.
Where it has gone, and I think I'm even more of a kind of a hawk against this, right?
Yeah,
is ultimately the game has to be good.
Right.
I mentioned Zombicide. I think Zombicide is a solid primary loop, but it is exceedingly boring.
Yeah.
And in the video game world, I've played Left 4 Dead. So all of the admin of killing zombies is handled by the computer.
Right.
Meanwhile, this game is we got to put 3 here and 2 here, and that's a bit of an annoyance. Now, if you're okay with that, then that's fine.
Yeah.
That's just a matter of opinion.
Right.
But there are games where they're selling it on 3 things, and the primary thing is models, and specifically, it's either boobs, Cthulhu, or zombies.
Yeah.
And less so zombies now, but like, when I say Cthulhu, I don't even necessarily mean the mythos. I mean like giant, like god or giant, like, or just these overly detailed characters for a game that does not stack up to the production value.
Cthulhu Wars.
Yeah.
Always go to Cthulhu Wars.
I will disagree. Cthulhu Wars is a fun game. Now, where I'll extend the hand to get the bridge back built is it's overproduced.
That's
for what
that's
it
the
does.
point I'm
overproduced.
making.
That is the main word of what you will see.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, we also have like 10 expansions for this game,
right.
and you probably can only get them, and like it's the phone, like overproduction and FOMO is the big
Leader Games
thing.
is good about getting the expansions out retail market.
Yeah.
And their FOMO is really just for special little doodads and things there that you don't need to play the base game. With CMON, one of the reasons why they're in the position they're in is their retail product does not come close to the Kickstarter product.
Yeah.
And once that Kickstarter money's gone, I don't feel there's the impetus to go out and buy this retail. No. There is a part of me that had wanted to get Blood Rage again, even though of the three, Blood Rage is my least favorite of the Eric Lang Mythology trilogy. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to have that because I had the other two. Mm-hmm. And Ankh is the only one I directly kickstarted because ultimately I did get all the Rising Sun stuff if you want to talk about secondary market. Jesus. Yeah. But to me, it was worth it for that game because the presentation of that game, the what you do in that game is matched with the presentation. So that's where I think. Now, for some may completely disagree. And you know what? I agree with you for disagreeing. If it's not your cup of tea, having all of this, why the fuck do we have all of this? But for those, if you like the game, to have that option to get that. But once you've played it that way, it's like, oh, I want to go out and get to my like either my friendly local game store. If I go to cool stuff or miniature market or any other places that have that.
Cool Stuff is basically now just a card game.
They're just card games
like
now?
HeroClix and stuff like that. Like
the collectible side of things. Okay, but
I don't know when they shifted to that. I just looked on there one day and I was like, they just have like Magic and Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh and HeroClix.
Yeah, but if you go to miniature market's gonna have the retail stuff, but you're not gonna get all of the
every once in a while they have Kickstarter stuff, but it's not cheap,
and it's not going to stay long either. Like people will,
or it's going to stay really long.
Fucking long, and you get it on a clearance. That's also fair.
Yeah.
Too.
Let's start wrapping it up. I think we want to end it on a good note. Let's talk about restoration games, huh?
Well, I do like really quick. Just one thing that we did forget, and it's something that Jay mentioned when it talks about YouTube is is. And we don't need to talk about it very long because it's not really a thing anymore, and that's the idea. That's the tabletop show on that Will Wheaton. Did.
That was a great boom for a while.
That was a thing that like really. Yeah. That was one of the things that led to my like love of like modern board games.
That is
like and again, like it's not a thing anymore, and nobody even talks about it anymore.
Yeah.
And you can talk about like how it was in hindsight a little bit cringe and stuff like that, but it did like introduce people to like the idea of these types of board games, this modern style of board games. Like
nobody else was doing anything like that.
No, they weren't.
It was like the first big one to do that, and really like nobody else has done that very often.
It died the way of most MCN channels, which were like ran by sub networks that got bought out by bigger networks, and it pretty much closed the whole YouTube channel down. Period. Anyway. Geek and Sundry, and then on the other side, Nerdist.
Yeah,
those channels.
Geek and Sundry in particular was the home of Critical Role, and then once that broke off, they didn't replace it with anything or things to make up for.
But that's not why. But that's not why it died. It died because like a network like Discovery or whoever it was that acquired them. Like that killed them.
That's an internet problem. That's why the same thing happened with like all these old internet comedy sites that we like College Humor, Crack,
Funny or Die, pretty much all.
It happened to all of those, and it's the same thing that happened.
Anything that was ran by a pseudo network.
Luckily, none of these other places are ever likely to get that big to where.
Well, no, because it's not run by like a team of people.
Yeah.
But yeah. Let's talk about restoration games and kind of close it out on a good note.
I think a good thing to talk about restoration games is that a lot of these old games that we talked about in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and all that, like restoration games is bringing them back and giving them a new coat of paint, tweaking the rules to modernize them just a little bit. They really don't. Most of them
don't need much.
Dark Tower, they have to do a lot of shit because they changed it being an app-based game.
Yeah, well, Omega Virus is going to be similar in that regard.
But a lot of times they don't need to really do much in the way of like updating the games. I don't think Thunder Road Vendetta.
There were some quality of life choices that were made to put more tactic and remove randomness. Like you're
Yeah.
still rolling dice, but you kind of had to roll dice for everything in Thunder Road.
Yeah.
And so they gave you more tactical choice while at the same time keeping up that tension of like this may or may not work.
I think the least changed one was Fireball Island, which I think was it the first one?
that had some noticeable changes.
Did it really?
Like having to go get the photographs from each side of the island in order before you leave, and like you know, there were other ways to get points that you needed to be able to.
We didn't have a lot of money, so I never got to play Fireball Island.
Yeah, the only time I got to play
pipe dream. That a Mega Virus.
Yeah,
all of those were
Dark
a pipe
Tower.
dream.
Yeah, any of those.
Dark Tower.
Well, Dark Tower, I will remind everybody here at the table, happened during the Satanic Panic.
Yeah.
That was 1982. And let me tell you, if you were a Christian family or only had friends that were in Christian families, you weren't fucking touching that. I mean, not Christian. Let me dial that back. Fundamentalists. All right. So
It didn't help it.
Yeah.
But if society was like pro Satan, I don't think the Dark Tower would have stuck because, like, think of the electronic games from that era and how many of them actually survived. We bring it up like electronic Battleship. It just added bells and hoops and weight. Like you just had regular Battleship, you'd be fine.
Sure.
I don't think it captured enough imagination. It captured enough imagination to be back in somebody's head to say, "Hey, return to Dark Tower."
I think it was like the original game was before its time for sure.
Yeah.
But also, again, during that time period, was anything themed in that iteration. Hero Quest didn't sell very well because it was too close to what D&D was, and like you don't want to have your kids playing Satan's game.
Yeah.
But anyway, again, Restoration games, great. I played most of them. Jay's got Dark Tower.
Brady's got Downforce.
Downforce Unmatched.
I played Thunder Road. I think Greg did Kickstarter for Thunder Road.
Yeah.
Unfathomable is really fun.
That's Fantasy Flight.
Not Restoration games.
No Restoration.
It's it's a reskin of Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And again, another reworking where dice rolling and positioning do matter a little bit more in that.
Dinosaur Tea Party is a Restoration Games.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
That seems
that one I own.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, Unmatched series is great. They do a really good job of like taking these of seeing like these old games. Some are like in a lot of people's memories, some are not, and bringing them forward and kind of giving them a new coat of paint, and bringing them to the masses nowadays.
I would like to end this on what board games to me have done specifically in the last decade, where video games to me have failed us. And again, these words were initially spoken by Quentin Smith at Game City, but when video games started to go away from couch co-op, and it was basically online, where like if you're going to play with friends, they're going to be in you're either different houses, maybe different states, maybe even different parts of the world. There wasn't that connection with people directly in front of you.
Yeah.
Board games, even if you can play board games online, board games play in the now, in the moment, in front of everybody.
Yeah.
And there are these meeting places. There's still these places, these moments in time where we meet and we engage in a common course of action.
Right.
And I think that is the one thing that throughout the entirety, going back 5,000 years,
Right.
to the first Mancala boards, it's bringing people together in common cause and common purpose to do something together.
Right.
Yeah.
To it in the same place. So that to me is the legacy of board games, and it's what board games are continuing to do when other forms of entertainment, like we've talked about streaming. We don't go to the movies together anymore.
Right.
We stay at home. We wait for the thing to come on streaming.
Sure.
Board games get us to our friendly local game stores. They get us out, and they
Right.
get us out, and they get us doing things
Also,
together.
like society in general, third spaces are dying.
Yeah.
Like-
third spaces where you don't have to spend money,
Right, yeah,
especially.
right.
But even those are not in the greatest space
No.
right now.
Yeah. So yeah, I think to me
I
that
think about
is-
that a lot, Jody.
Yeah, I do
Like,
too.
a lot.
I think that to me is where I would like to lead, is that whether you go back to prehistory to now, the true the true thing about gaming is that it still brings people together.
Yeah.
And respect your Zocolos, your third party spaces, your game stores, your bookstores that allow you to do stuff like that.
100%.
Go out there and play these things with people
Libraries.
in front of one another.
Yeah, libraries,
absolutely.
The library in Biloxi, like the main one there, actually you can rent board games.
Oh, that's good.
They don't have like the phenomenal selection, but like they do have some decent games.
That's still pretty rad.
Good stuff. There you go. All right, bus is moving into the station, boys. We would like to thank a board game seller, McNarb Gaming, here in Goshen, Mississippi, for providing us this wonderful studio space from which we record Travelers on the Omnibus.
Yeah, I don't think they have anything going on, do they?
Anything that's going on this weekend?
Nothing to note for this
because I know, like,
upcoming
because
weekend.
like there were like Pokemon and Magic have done their like big kind of like.
I think they
pre-release
have
stuff.
their.
Wait, is this the second weekend? No, this is the first weekend.
No, this is the first weekend. But I want to say Greg said something about
No,
game day.
this is the second weekend coming up.
So second Saturday.
Oh, that's right, because it's
Oh,
8.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Board
so
game day.
Gulf,
Day.
Gulf Coast Game Day. So like, and board games from all eras. They've done stuff from Avalon Hill times.
Oh,
yeah. Embrace and enjoy.
Oh, there's a team of old people who will come up here and they'll play this little hex game with, I think they're submarines or something.
Yeah.
Like all fucking day.
Yeah,
Yep.
there's at least one group of elderly gentlemen playing some sort of Napoleon War game of some
I
kind.
like that one too.
Second Saturday of every month, which is this weekend coming up. So yeah, definitely check out Magnarb Gaming here in Goshen, Mississippi. All right, next week is the 3-player. Like it's me, Brady, and Ethan, because Jody has to fight Martians,
That's right.
Yeah.
and so we'll figure out something.
Yeah, we don't know. We tried, but we've got the rest of the.
We have
We have 3 more weeks after this.
I
but
got-
they
got
didn't.
the crew together. We got everything.
I've got a branching idea for a branching episode. 3-player board games. They exist.
Yeah.
And Three Kingdoms isn't the only one.
Yeah, there's a couple. I can think of a couple.
Yeah,
But that won't be next week.
that will not be next week.
We just did board games.
Yeah.
You're giving an idea for us to talk about while you're not here. Is this what we're talking about?
You brought it up that we didn't have an idea for the episode for next week.
That's
I
fair.
was
That is
just
fair.
giving you an idea.
But if you're giving us an idea, you should be a part of it. God damn it.
Tangentially, 3-player video games.
What the fuck would we talk
I
about?
don't know what that means.
Yeah. You're
Nick,
looking at us like it's obvious.
Hold on.
It
hold
is
on.
an
I don't care
idea.
if I have to edit this out. Give me 3-player video games.
Give me one.
I don't know.
Give me one.
That's why
Give
we
me
do
one
the week of the
PS1
research.
side-scrolling platformer.
Say Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, I was
Mortal
thinking
Kombat.
Mortal Kombat.
Sub-Zero Anthologies does not count.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat 2.
They're not platformers.
Mortal Kombat
Yeah, you
3.
do. You jump up and then you land on a platform.
I was about to
And-
say,
and-
Not in
the
every
screen-
episode. Not in every stage.
you
the
fucking
screen goes
platform
side to
in
side, so it
Mortal Kombat
scrolls.
Mythologies. I played that
Yeah,
shit.
all,
unfortunately.
yeah.
all floors can be platforms if
That-
you think
It
that
just
way.
has the movement and everything of a Mortal Kombat game
Yeah.
and a platformer, which works great.
Yeah, it was voted by the Oscars as best movie.
You know when I found out that game was shit when I was reading through a strategy guide for it in a magazine, and everything was just jump and high kick, just jump and high kick. There's nothing that you don't do anything but jumping. Oh, you're fighting this boss, just jump and high kick. There's no need to.
The second level of Sub-Zero Mythologies.
I never made it past the first.
You beat the shit out of Fusion, and then he does a fucking tornado and you die.
Yeah.
And then you have to fight him again. You have to keep fighting him until you not and you here's how you not die. You beat him, and then once you've beaten him, you have to immediately run over to a wall on the far side and crouch down. And that means you'll hold on to the wall and like literally like your fucking feet are dangling towards him. And then he spins so fast, this god of wind, he explodes.
Yeah.
What?
It's really a well-made game.
So is Heart of Darkness, which is really one of the only side-scrolling platformers. It's not even really a platformer, just like,
Yeah, it's a book by Ernest Hemingway.
Yeah. In this book, Do you is the protagonist a child that gets ripped up by shadow demons? Because that happens in the game rated E for everyone.
Yeah, I think Quartermain does that at the very end.
Yeah.
There you go. That's
Heart
very
of
good.
Darkness.
Heart
I
of
didn't hear
Darkness.
anything about Mortal Kombat in that side-scrolling game you just described.
You didn't, because it's not Mortal Kombat.
A few things are.
I would argue Mortal Kombat's not Mortal Kombat. I'm James McCarthy.
I'm Bray Davis.
I'm Jody Kite.
I'm Ethan Skinner.
Travis on the Omnibus. Thanks for stopping by and joining the ride.
All right, let's get the fuck out of here.
I need a minute.
Oh, sure.
Just need like a minute or two.
You can have all the minutes you want.
There you go.
All the minutes are free. 3 minutes.
Sign up for AOL Time AT&T. You get 500 minutes free of your favorite girl.
Oh God, we forgot 4X games.